All right, good morning. Welcome into the Rise Grind Morning Show. Lions lost one of their legends, Tracy Scroggins. May you rest in peace. We'll talk about him today. David Montgomery, the path is as clear as mud, and it doesn't sound like David Montgomery is coming back. Let me clarify. Montgomery is already back. He is under contract. But will he play for the Lions in 2026? It is way too early, but we're going to get into 2026 power rankings ahead of everything else that matters. Why not? And Mike Kafka, rumors circulating the other day that Mike Kafka might be heading to Seattle, and it's all BS, and I'll explain why here in just a few moments. All right, let's go. All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Rise and Grind Morning Show. It is February 10th. Doesn't mean anything. It's just February 10th. Hope you're all having a wonderful morning. Do me a quick favor, man. If you want to earn yourself some cash, some free cash, well, you can help me by joining Chime. Chime and Rockhound Detroit Lions will be partnering up this next season. And I'll bring you all the details here in the coming days, but we're going to be giving out at least $100 for every new account that opens up. You got to meet the guidelines, but I'll be sharing a link here in just the coming days. So Chime, man, great partner here with Rockhound Detroit Lions. The number one most loved banking app, Chime. They have a great way to help your credit, especially if you have a young kid in college. They have a unique credit building app that'll help you just build credit by buying normal things. It's good stuff, man. Good stuff, especially for young kids. On today's docket, we're going to be talking about David Montgomery, why it sounds like he may or may not be coming back. Now, we highlighted this the other day after the Super Bowl, Radio Row appearances. It sounded like, he was coming back or he wants to be part of the system. And I warned y'all, it's just PC answers. Same thing with Max Crosby. I want to talk about that a little bit today again because it's just PC answers, and I heard the most horrific gaslighting I've ever heard in my life yesterday. Tracy Scroggins passed away, and we'll talk about why that is important. It's also hard, right? 56 years old. pretty tough to swallow, man, especially for Tracy Scroggins' family. So my heart, my condolences, thoughts, prayers, everything are with you all this morning, and with the Lions family, of course, you as fans and Lions franchise. Let's get Eric in here, and let's get rolling. Let's start talking about these Lions and NFL news today. What's happening, man? Good morning.
Good morning. Another day, another 6 inches of snow up this way. It never stops. It just
You're up in a snow globe.
I know.
We didn't have any snow, man. We're doing good down here. All right, we got some action to talk about this morning. But I think let's talk about Tracy Scroggins first, because I want to give that man his proper respects. Dead at 56, man. Way too young. Way too young. I mean, that's like, yesterday, certain things like pop up in your feed, and I'm watching this video of this man that's 45 years old that just had a massive stroke, and he's learning how to walk and talk and do everything all over again. And his wife was a physiotherapist and got him back within a couple of years, like almost normal again, right? Almost being as normal as you possibly can. And at 45 years old, and I'm thinking to myself, like, man, when I first started this, Andy had a stroke, and he couldn't really do this anymore. Thankfully, they got to the hospital, and it was within the first couple of hours. They were able to give him that medication, and he didn't really suffer any major, side effects, if you will, long-lasting effects of the stroke. Pretty normal, as much as Andy can be normal. Love you, Andy. Glad that he's doing okay today. But at 45 years old, I'm thinking, man, at 56, what would it be like if I passed that early? I maybe didn't get a chance to see my kids, get married or do what they love in life. What did I leave for a legacy? Did I leave anything at all? And that's what Rockhound Cancer Foundation is all about. That's the legacy that I want to leave. But this dude spent 10 years of his career as a member of the Lions. And one of the most devoted fathers, cherished family member, loyal friend, and more than his work on the field, he was known more for what he did off the field and just how much he cared deeply about his family, his friends. I mean, just anybody that he met. People remember Tracy Scroggins for the human that he was, not the football player that he was, which I think it's an amazing way to kind of look at anybody's life. Like, what do you remembered for the most? You remember for your kindness? You remember for how much money you have? What is your legacy? And I will say that if I happen to pass away, early, and I was remembered for kindness, then I won. I would be good with that. Tracy's winning because people are remembering him for his kindness and how much he really cherished those around him. Here's a quote by his family after Tracy Scroggins passed away yesterday. So here's a quote. Tracy was a devoted father, cherished family member, a loyal friend whose life was marked by remarkable strength and perseverance. While many knew him for his career as a professional football player in the NFL, those closest to him knew him as a kind-hearted and generous man who cared deeply for his family and his friends. The family continued to say that, quote, playing in the NFL gave Tracy the opportunity to pursue his lifelong dream and to rise from poverty. However, unfortunately, the NFL also ultimately the cause of his untimely demise. Tracy spent every moment of retirement courageously battling the devastating effects of CTE. While our hearts are heavy, we find comfort in knowing that he is finally at peace. End quote. Back in 2016, I believe was the year. You'd have to correct me if you know the answer. But I think it was in 2016 that he filed a lawsuit against the NFL alleging CTE. And I didn't have time to do a bunch of research. I can't remember when all of that kind of came to a head. I know that there was multiple lawsuits against the NFL, and there was, just a wave of information that came, out about CTE and what the NFL was going to do to help protect these players after they're done playing and give them an opportunity, with, medical treatments and health insurance and, kind of stepping things up for them, right? It was probably never enough. It was a major lawsuit.
Yeah, it was 2016.
So he was part of the main suit there. Obviously, you don't know, at least from what they're saying, is that you don't know about CTE until after you've passed, and they can take a look at your brain. I don't know if he's donating his brain or not. I didn't see that piece. If it does exist,
I would imagine he would, so his family could have a leg to stand on with all of this.
well, I think that they've already been settled, right? I think a lot of it's already been settled. Now, I don't know specifics about his case, but I think the NFL settled everybody kind of all at once with cash payouts and future help and with medical treatments and paying for medical costs. But again, I'll have to do some more research on that to get you the exacts. But you all can do your own research too on that. I didn't want to go deep off into all that this morning. But this dude, man, 321 tackles, 60.5 sacks. He was the third highest defensive end with sack numbers, the third leading sacker for the Detroit Lions to date.
He was kind of a tweener. He was like a big linebacker, small defensive end.
Yeah. Back then, it's the size obviously of these players was a little bit different.
Yeah.
How they were utilized. A little bit different. And quite honestly, 2016, playing with, I think he's played with Ndamukong Suh that year. I can't remember if we were playing more of a 3-4 style or not. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look. But, yeah, man, dude is always in the backfield.
Well, Scroggins, he only played until 2001, from 92 to 2001. And man, the 90s were just different. It was a different style of football back then. If you remember, they put out the greatest hits video on VHS every year. And it was like, I couldn't wait for the day that came in the mail to watch the awesome hits from the year as they put them together. And, he was one of those type players. And now because of CTE and all that, they've changed the league. The kickoff rule is completely different. The way that defensive players are allowed to hit offensive players, there's no more lowering your helmet. They're taking a lot of that stuff out of the game. They're trying to make it safer so players can play longer and don't have these effects when they're done with the game.
Yeah, it's huge, man. I don't know why 2016 was in my head thinking of Ndamukong Suh. That's kind of weird. But he had a career high in sacks, 9.5, 45 tackles. Forced 2 fumbles, returned 1 touchdown in 1995.
Was that the one for 81 yards?
Yeah, he had at least 6 sacks in 7 seasons. To think today, you hear from a lot of Lions fans, the outpouring of we need more, opposite of Aiden talk. And back then, 9.5 sacks was career high. 9.5 sacks was, man, you're really good. Averaging 6 or 7 a year is perfect, right? It's exactly what you needed. I don't know where we got into this 15, 20, need all these, sack. I don't get it. Because back then you could win, and you could win a lot if you just kind of shared the defense, if you will, with everybody else. And we're part of the result, part of the story, right? Part of the process. Less individual. Tracy was the ultimate team player. And this really sucks when you hear stuff like this, that this guy potentially had to battle CTE. And, you know, to your point, the NFL has changed a lot of these rules, and it wasn't just to protect the offense, which a lot of people think it was just to protect the offense, make the offense faster, allow the NFL to score more points, which I feel that's legit. But I also believe a lot of the rule changes were to stop, adding, insult to injury with all of these head-on-head collisions, more and more and more, as it happened prior to 2015. A lot of those players are suffering more today. It's the players post-2015, it seems, are not suffering as much, but it's still way too early to know. It's way too early to know. If you haven't watched that movie, I think it was Will Smith that was a leading actor.
Pound of Flesh?
Yeah. That is an extremely good movie.
Yeah.
To kind of grasp what was happening with CTE and why this doctor was pushing and pushing and pushing for the research and what he had come to find and how that turned into the major lawsuits against the NFL.
It was called Concussion. That was
that was it. Yeah, there you go. Not Pound of Flesh, but that was a good movie too, Pound of Flesh.
Yeah.
In 2016, Scroggins is when he sued the NFL in a separate additional claim, though, citing chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is CTE. He sought $5 million after he was preliminarily diagnosed with the brain disease, which is the result of repeated head trauma. And CTE can only really be definitively diagnosed after death through the neuropathological autopsy. It was immediately clear where Scroggins' family would have his brain tested. So there's the answer. And maybe you don't get the payout. I don't know this to be true, but maybe you don't get the payout until you donate your brain and actually get diagnosed fully after you're passing. Again, I don't know, but a quote from his lawyer at the time says this: he can't remember where he is or where he's going. And this was back in 2016. So he was 46 years old, 45 our age, 45 years old. Well, not your age. You're old as,
I'm 50. So
yeah.
I'm going to be 51 here in a month.
the other thing imagine, too. Well, the other thing too, go ahead. Sorry.
That's 5 more years. That's it.
Yeah.
And 5 more years of just being someone that doesn't know where they're at or where they're going. That doesn't seem fair for someone that was a professional athlete that put it all on the line for everyone.
Right. Super healthy, right? You think?
You would think so.
Yeah. There's a downside. There's a downside to that. And I think players are trying to be smarter about this today. Actually, before I get into that, let me just say this. So the other side of the CTE is I've read in the past that they were trying to blame a lot of this on early onset dementia, like Alzheimer's dementia. If we're saying like he can't remember where he is, where he's going. Well, it is true that you can have early onset Alzheimer's dementia at a very young age, and that I believe has to do with the hypothalamus. And the hypothalamus ends up kind of disintegrating in your brain, just disappears, and that's what triggers all the memory. Now, I'm not a neurosurgeon or anything, but based on research that I've done and I've dealt with it with family members and took care of a patient a couple years ago that had it. Pretty rough stuff, man. Alzheimer's dementia is pretty rough. So I can imagine the way I'm trying to correlate this here is if he had that type of a brain disease going on and that type of an experience, it's bad. Like that is so rough.
Yeah.
That you don't know who people are. You don't know where you're going. You don't know what you're doing. It's like you're stuck in a glitch, But anyway, Tracy Scroggins, man, may you rest in peace, brother. And hearts, thoughts, prayers, everything with your family, friends, Lions organization today. Something we were just talking about. you would think that players that, they're healthy, you would assume that they're healthy, but there is another side to this. And when you look at offensive linemen, defensive linemen, they're big guys, right? A lot of times when these guys retire, they drop like 100 pounds instantly. A lot of these guys, they look a lot better. Some of them aren't even recognizable after they retire because they've lost so much weight. They pack this weight on. I've read countless stories, watched it happen with, countless players that go from being a quarterback to a tight end to an offensive lineman. And it's like, how you scratching your head? Like, how is that even possible? You were a quarterback, 200 pounds, maybe. Then you go to tight end, 240, and then you add another 100, 80, 90, 100 pounds to that frame to be an offensive lineman. You know how difficult that must be on your joints and taxing on your organs and your spine and everything else, right? Well, think about the internal side, the visceral fat, which I've been doing a lot of research on visceral fat because I've been on steroids every day now for a few years because of my adrenal insufficiency. And just the small amount of steroids that I take a day, adding more cortisol to my body, well, cortisol creates visceral fat. And so I'm trying to get rid of that visceral fat because that is what will cause major organ failure and heart disease and everything else later. So I'm looking into peptides and all these other things. How can I do it, with good healthy diet and exercise? But just thinking, like, these players outwardly you think are supposed to be really healthy, right? They're playing the ultimate sport. They're running around every day. But you're adding all this weight. You're eating all these calories. Some of these guys eating 10, 12,000 calories a day just to stack the weight and keep the weight on. Imagine how much visceral fat they probably really have and how that stuff doesn't really just go away and how they would have to work double time just to get it to go away after they retire. But that is why a lot of players are unhealthy, but you can't see it. That is why we hear players passing away too early because of the things that you don't see that you wouldn't recognize outwardly. When you look at someone, you'd have no idea that they are just covered on the inside of this visceral fat that can be a huge detriment, to your health going forward. So it makes perfect sense as to why some people pass away early. But this type of stuff with Tracy Scroggins, man, it's just tragic. It's unnecessary, and I don't know. He played the sport that he loved. A lot of players that have passed early. We've had several over the last couple of months. What is the true nature of that early death? Like why did it really happen? Too many chemicals, too much bad food, don't eat anything in a box or a can. Like, seriously, it's that bad for you. Anyway, where'd you like to go to next?
Let's talk about a tight end.
A tight end?
Yeah. So yesterday we talked about Kyle Pitts.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to thinking last night, hey, let's talk about another tight end, maybe a free agent that might be available for Detroit. Maybe somebody with some ties to our new offensive coordinator, and somebody that's in the news right now. Well, David Njoku announced last night that he will not be returning to the Cleveland Browns in 2026. For the first time in his career, he played his entire 9-year career for the Browns. He was picked number 29 in the first round in 2017 out of Miami. He's played all 9 years, and he's only going to be 29 years old. For the first time ever, he's a free agent, and he's going to test the free agent waters. Well, there's a little bit of connection with Drew Petzing, where Drew Petzing was his former tight ends coach in Cleveland. And I thought, what a great addition this guy would be He appeared in a total of 118 games for the Browns. He caught 384 passes for 4,062 yards, and 34 touchdowns in his career. He ranks 6th all-time in touchdown catches in franchise history, and he is 3rd in receptions behind only Ozzie Newsome and Dante Lavelli. Njoku's best season came in 2023, just a couple years ago, when he made his lone Pro Bowl of his career. That year, he set career highs with 81 receptions, 802 receiving yards, and 6 touchdowns. Now, this last year, injuries limited him to just 12 games, and he didn't have his usual impact on the offense, as the passing game kind of struggled throughout the season because they went through 5 different quarterbacks. Okay. Njoku, he was targeted just 48 times, had 33 receptions for 293 yards and 4 touchdowns this past year. And he should have plenty of suitors in free agency. And I kind of looked at some different places where he might be landing or where they're suggesting he might go. And a few of the suggestions were the Kansas City Chiefs, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Minnesota Vikings, and the New England Patriots, but they did not mention the Detroit Lions, and I'm wondering why they didn't. Got to looking into David Njoku's market projection, his salary cap projection for Spotrac, and it says right about $10 million is his market value. So I think that would be a perfect fit for the Detroit Lions on a 1-year prove-it deal, maybe a 2-year deal. And I think he would fit in just fine with Drew Petzing and the Detroit Lions. What do you think about that, Will?
Well, prove-it deals typically belong to players that have something to prove. David Njoku, I don't think he really has anything to prove. He's not coming off of an injury, right?
Well, he is coming off of an injury.
What injury was it?
He only played 12 games last year. That's the one thing I didn't see. I'm gonna look up his injury history here. But what do you guys in the chat think about? So his was a hamstring injury in August.
Yeah, so he didn't play the beginning of the season. He played throughout the end of the season.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have anything to prove per se, but he is a little bit older. Let me get his actual contract out.
Yeah, because he's 29 right now. He had an ankle injury in the 2024 season opener and a high ankle sprain. I remember he's been injured on and off here and there, but nothing major. He's played a lot of games.
If you go back and look at his stats, you started 11 out of 12 games here in 2025. Roughly 50% of the snaps played. He had 33 receptions on 48 targets, only 293 yards, and I would say only 4 touchdowns. Extremely bad year for Njoku, but when you look at his overall profile, Njoku is one of those boomer bust type guys, and I do have an article on Njoku, but as I mentioned yesterday, I have an article on 6 tight ends, but yeah, I mean I've got them all covered. The thing about Njoku is he's boomer bust, and he's really never had a boom season. His best season was 2023 with about 882 yards, which I don't care what NFL team it is. That type of yardage for a tight end is great. For a long time, if you're getting more than 500 yards as a tight end, like that's insane. Now, these tight ends that can kind of do both, be a X style of receiver as well as an inline tight end and block. Yeah, Trey McBride's, the Kyle Pitts, those guys, they can be 1,000+ yards. They can be 8, 9, 10, 12 touchdowns in a season. Njoku, big body, big time, threat in the red zone. Definitely can block in and around the line of scrimmage. When I look at his ability, what he can do, and then yesterday as I was talking, with like Kyle Pitts,
Yep.
well, would Kyle Pitts come in and just cannibalize, the opportunities from, Jameson Williams or David Montgomery or Jahmyr Gibbs or Amon-Ra St. Brown or Isaac Tesla? I see where David Njoku wouldn't really cannibalize on their opportunities as much because he's not going to be asked to go get 800-900 yards and 8-10 touchdowns. Well, maybe he'll get the touchdowns in the red zone because he'll be a threat, but that's the point. He can be a threat. He can be someone that can help you, up the seam and create that conflict for the defense. So for David Njoku, I think that he would be a player that would fit. One, there's the Petzing connection. Two, I don't think that he needs to be fed, a boatload of receptions or targets, to be happy, right? The question is, are you willing to pay $10 million a year for Njoku? And again, according to market value, if Kyle Pitts was only $10.8 million, well, clearly you're going to Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
Right? I wouldn't even bat an eye. If there was $1 million separating Njoku and Kyle Pitts, sign me up. Kyle Pitts to a 3-4 year deal. That's exactly where I would go. But if David Njoku's market value is closer to $6 million or $7 million, which I think it is, then he does make sense from a statistical outlier standpoint that he's not going to be someone that is going to cannibalize the offense. He's only going to add value. He can block and he can be a receiving threat. And you're adding insurance for Sam Laporta. If the Lions decide not to go after a draft pick, which we won't know until the draft for a tight end, then they have to do something in free agency. And quite honestly, there's going to be more free agent tight ends available than I believe that there's going to be left tackles available. This is a very slim, in my opinion, so far anyway. It's a very slim offensive line market in free agency, which means I expect a draft pick. Don't expect the Lions to do anything flashy. If anything, there might be more centers and guards in free agency, not as many left tackles. And furthermore, honestly, in the draft, there are far more right tackles than there are left tackles. People keep mocking Caleb Lomu to the Lions. I don't know why. He's never played left tackle a day in his life. It's not easy.
We got Penei Sewell, and he had never played right tackle.
That's totally different. Totally
Why?
different. Because playing left tackle versus right tackle is totally different. Protecting the blind side is way easier than protecting the front side.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? The quarterback can see what's coming at you on the right side. You can't see what's coming at you on the left side if you're a right-handed quarterback. Now, putting a right tackle over the left side is much harder. Both sides you're going to have to, you're going to have to change your drop step. You're going to have to change your footwork, all of that, right? But if you've never played left tackle to take on those speed ends going off to the left side of your left shoulder, it's just much harder. If the Lions were stupid enough to bring in a right tackle and put him on the left side, then you might as well put Penei over there, which they don't even want to do. And just being smart here, just thinking about it, they've already said multiple times, they being the Lions, Brad and Dan both, have said that they don't want to put Penei on the left side. They've said it multiple times. So if they're not willing to do it with Penei, why would they want to bring in a rookie and do it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that just doesn't make much sense to me. So I'm trying to pick up on what they're saying and what they're laying down in trying to utilize that information to, all right, if this is what they really mean, if they're not just throwing smoke out there, then they're going to bring in the player that can play the position. They're not going to try to screw around. And quite honestly, if you're the Lions and as a fan, you wouldn't want them to. Why would you want? To me, that's a project, right? You're bringing in a guy that's never played left tackle. You're now bringing him in as a project. We're gonna have you try out at left tackle and hope for the best. And we're gonna build you up over the next couple of years. Now, in 2 or 3 years of playing left tackle, could he be a phenomenal left tackle? Absolutely. Absolutely could. But in a year that we want to go win, let's go win. All right, let's not worry about transitioning somebody from right to left. Let's just go get a left tackle. That to me makes more sense. Hopefully I'm making sense.
Yeah. Well, something you've been trying to do since the day we got Drew Petzing is get me to get on board with Drew Petzing. And I've been telling you, I haven't heard enough. I haven't seen enough. I don't know enough about Drew Petzing. And watching that video that I found about Drew Petzing back when he was the tight ends coach for the Cleveland Browns was kind of eye-opening. When you have reporters asking you questions that you don't know what the question is, and it's a very high-end football question, and you don't pause, you don't stutter, you don't say your answer just comes straight out of your mouth every single time, very well spoken, and like bang, the guy is just right on it. I loved it. I actually am starting to come around to this guy. Now, I still need to see it on the field. I really, really do. And see how the players respond to him and Mike Kafka and see how that relationship works. But I'm starting to come around to Drew Petzing, especially after watching that video this morning.
Yeah, we'll bring that in here in just a minute. I really didn't even finish anything that I wanted to say on Njoku, but because I kind of went off on a tangent. Let me just kind of give you my
that's funny.
My cliff notes on Njoku. So at a glance, which you'll get this in the profiles. Now, I got to warn you guys. When I do a player profile, I do a player profile. Okay, I don't screw around and do a couple of sentences and, a couple of stats and give an opinion or, throw in a couple. No, it is a profile. These are built like an NFL scout speaking NFL analyst language and working it up to hand it off to a GM to make a decision. That's how I'm doing it. And that's what should be expected of me, especially with a potential opportunity that I might be taking to be a scout and player contract associate. I've got to learn how to do it even better than I'm doing now. So at a glance, he's 29.7 years old. So he'll be 30 years old the new season. He's 6'4". He's 246. He runs a 4.64. He's got 10-inch hands, massive arms, 34.25-inch arms, 82.5-inch wingspan. He was drafted in 2017 as a first-round pick. He was 29th. He's made a boatload of money. To your point, he had some knee injuries, some personal things going on in 2025. And the only other things that I saw really were like a wrist injury in 2019, and he had some sort of a burn or something like that in 23. I didn't find much else for injuries. Doesn't mean they don't exist. I just didn't look very deep. When I look at his career, I think that his career is all about resilience because you're in Cleveland, right? I mean, how difficult is it to play the game of football in Cleveland? It's got to be pretty damn difficult.
Yeah.
He was once viewed as a project. Get that? That's crazy. Drop issues when he came into the league, and then he evolved into one of the more dangerous yak threats in the league. If he actually has someone throwing him the football, they can throw him the damn football. And I think that Shedeur Sanders, probably didn't get enough of an opportunity, but he's going to move on. When I see him, over the next several seasons, I think that he's generally tough and durable, but I'm still going to lean on the fact that he's a little bit older, definitely not worth $10 million. And I think that he can help the Lions in many facets of the game, especially with the Drew Petzing thing, the connection there and what you're looking at in utilizing, even if it's the spread offense, if you're using more of a Kafka system, or if it's the gap scheme offense in the Petzing system, both utilize tight ends. Both utilize tight ends differently. But the 13 personnel is where things get really interesting. And I think a lot of, the general public doesn't understand how effective it can be. And again, I'll go back and say this. Rams. Look at how successful the Rams have been. Look how successful Puka Nacua has been. And that is on the back of the 13 personnel system that they ran more than anybody. Over 35% of the time. Compared to the Cardinals, they ran at about 12% of the time. Compared to the Lions, they ran at about 5.5% of the time. That's huge. They're running 13 personnel in LA like we're running 11 personnel in Detroit. A ton. So that should tell you something, that it can work, and it can work at a high level. Anyway, I'll get these out. Hopefully today things should be fixed on my end. And then I am really hoping that by, I don't have much time, but I'm really hoping I can get this magazine out. It'll be more for the draft as opposed to free agency, but next year I'll do the free agency one. I'm really hoping I can get this magazine out before April 1st. Like that's a hard goal. Probably not going to hit it, just going to be honest, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try like hell because I think it's going to be fun. And it'll be a good generator tool for Rockhound Cancer Foundation. All right, let's get into, you said a video, right?
Yeah.
All right, let me get this video up.
Kind of enlightening. So anyone that's on the fence with Drew Petzing, along with me, maybe this will help you get over the fence a little bit. Just hearing him talk.
Meet the all-new
previous position.
That was loud.
Yeah, get some commercials going.
Jeez, oh Pete. All right, while I'm getting this going, this is going to take me a minute. I want to talk about. Yeah, hold on here. I need to open this up into my account because
there you go.
Then
I don't know why.
Then I don't
YouTube
have commercials.
Yeah, I don't know why YouTube just didn't take me to my premium account to do that. I don't know why it didn't do that. I must not be logged on this computer.
Did you guys see something?
All right, yeah.
I need to be logged on every device across everything.
It's crazy. How many passwords I have? It's nuts. I have a spreadsheet with over 200 passwords.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's nuts, dude. It is nuts.
Gotta love.
I wanted to get into the Kafka rumors, and I'm just gonna say, look, I'm gonna rub some people the wrong way, but here's what I keep seeing, man. I keep seeing regurgitation. I keep seeing things that are not very accurate. There's an article again that came out, I believe yesterday, that said that Mike Kafka could potentially be going to Seattle after winning the Super Bowl, that they need to replace their OC because Kubiak is going to the Raiders, right?
Yep.
And that they might hire Mike Kafka and snake him out from underneath the Lions tree. And I got to doing some research on this, right? So that happened. I think it was yesterday afternoon or yesterday mid-morning. I'm not even sure now. But what I did is I started looking for sources. I started getting deeper and started to look for where is this coming from? Why would they all of a sudden just say Kafka is going to be going? What I had found is I found a story that was by Draft. I think it was Draft Rumors. 24 hours before that local media article popped. Okay? So stick with me here. If that came out 24 hours before the local media article popped, what do you think's happening there? They're regurgitating. It's not a news story. It's rage bait where it came out 24 hours ago. And this people just take this stuff and they run with it like it's their story, like it's a news story, and they don't even mention where they got the information from or give credit to any other news sources that started it first. And so that's the kind of stuff that bothers me. It's like, why are we immediately trying to put Lions fans into like a panic mode? And I've mentioned this before. It's It is a natural born instinct to be panicked by things, right? So it is a marketing ploy by every media company out there to put you into a state of panic, to click, as opposed to just telling the truth about things. February 9th at 12:49 p.m., there was an article that also came out that said that the Seahawks rumors, more so pointing towards an internal hire, not Kafka. So again, 24 hours before that article drops, there was an article that said the same exact thing that article said. So that article got that information more likely from that previous article with draft rumors, whatever that site was called.
Yeah. And
then hours before that article actually dropped yesterday in local media, if you can't tell, I try not to say the name. I don't like to give free publicity out there. The Clutch Points put out that they're looking to hire an internal hire, and then this same thing happened. Everyone puts out this information that they're trying to hire an internal hire, and what do? They just went and saw Greg Bell's tweet, right? That they were looking for internal, and then they take it and run with it and say, per sources, this is what they've heard. Well, no, you just took that tweet, and that's what you're basing this whole article on, and then everybody runs with it. Everybody just regurgitates the same crap. I don't think anyone's verified one source. Sources would tell you that you need internal information, right? You need real information, verified information. But here's what people started putting in their articles. Quote, I'm told Seahawks and Coach Mike McDonald are closely in on hiring from within the team's current coaching staff to be Seattle's new offensive coordinator to replace Clint Kubiak. Greg Bell wrote that on X. Went on to say that Kubiak is now, as of today, the new head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. That dude is already gone. He was already on a plane going to Vegas. And so it's just bothersome that we run with this type of stuff, and then we half-ass quote people and really don't credit people, as to where this information came from. But if we're taking people's tweets and using them as gospel, that's scary. That's scary that we're not using verified information. Who else did we talk to inside the Seahawks organization that verified the same information? But either way, it sounds like.
Well, there's a story saying that they want Mike Kafka, and then there's a story saying they don't want Mike Kafka.
Well, yeah, it's kind of funny, right? The story comes out,
and neither one of them you can verify.
Well, 3 hours after the story that says that they're hiring internally,
yeah,
the story comes out and says, nope, they're going to grab Kafka. But 24 hours before, I know this is confusing as hell.
Yeah.
24 hours, let's say on Sunday afternoon, Draft Rumors puts out that they might possibly be looking at Kafka. Monday afternoon, a local media writer writes the same thing. But before that local writer wrote that, 3-4 hours before that, Clutch Points puts out that, or Greg Bell puts out on Twitter, that they're hiring from within. So which one is it?
Yeah. Either way, they get egg on their face.
Either way, right? Yeah, that's a good point. But Jake Peetz is what it sounds like, or who is going to be the new offensive coordinator. Now, that would make a ton of sense. Now, Jake Peetz was the guy that I thought would have a good opportunity to end up in Detroit simply because the dude is smart, knows what he's doing, and just help lead his team to a Super Bowl. It would make perfect sense to hire from within to keep the continuity, keep everything the same. There's no need to change it all up. So I've also seen reports that have already said that is done, that Jake Peetz is the OC.
Yeah.
But I haven't verified anything. So I'm not going to say that that's happened at all. Period. End of story.
It's just crazy how much misinformation gets put on the internet now. And it never used to be this way. And it started on sites like Facebook and X and stuff where people are putting up, fake memes or whatever. But now people are putting up fake stories and taking quotes and twisting them. And even like Google is wrong half the time, where that used to always be gospel. Oh, Google it. Just Google it. Look and see if it's right. Well, you go and Google something and Google's wrong. Yeah. And it's wrong 100%. So I'm one of them old farts that it's just it's blowing my mind. So speaking of Clint Kubiak did get hired by the Las Vegas Raiders, and he went from winning the Super Bowl one day to the very next day landing in Las Vegas and taking the job as head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, who will he hire as his coordinators on offense and defense? If Kubiak brings coaches with him from Seattle, he could consider quarterbacks coach Andrew Njoku for the offensive coordinator and Aiden Dirty on the defensive side. It obviously would be a promotion for Njoku, though Kubiak may call the plays. Dirty is the Seahawks DC, but he would have the opportunity to have full control of the defense, unlike in Seattle, where Coach Mike McDonald calls plays on that side of the ball. So it sounds like he wants to bring a couple of people from his former team with him, and this was from Seattle Sports in Seattle.
So like I said, NFL trade rumors, this is where it came from. This was on February 8th, 2026, so before the Super Bowl, or no, same day as the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. It says Lions assistant Mike Kafka, potential candidate for Seahawks OC vacancy. And it was per Jeremy Fowler that the current Lions assistant.
I could not find that on his X anywhere.
Yeah, I didn't either.
On Jeremy Fowler's. I looked everywhere. I could not find anything from Jeremy Fowler actually saying that.
I couldn't find it either. But anyway, it says that he mentioned that Fowler mentioned that in-house candidates were also the ones that were being named here: Andrew Njoku, Jake Peetz, and running backs coach Justin Outen. And the only reason why Kafka was even mentioned is because they were impressed, they said, by his head coaching interview 2 years ago. So if that's what they're weighing on, and then to kneecap biting in the chat, I haven't seen, read, or heard, or have one source that told me Kafka's interviewing for anything. So please state your source there, because that's I haven't heard one thing, not one thing about that. Can't find anything either. Even if you just go quick search up anything on Google, I haven't seen one article about Kafka interviewing today. And you would think that would be pretty relevant information that somebody would state. So let us know where that's coming from. But as far as we know, the whole point is the regurgitation is crazy. It's more and more now that you get one person that actually puts something out, and then everybody just copies the same shit. There's no originality. There's nothing new. And that it's like, can we write new stuff? That's why I write new stuff. That's why I write original stuff. I don't want to be the same. I don't want to write the same crap as everybody else. You can report on something, great. But when are we going to write some real meaningful content? That's what I'm looking for, is real meaningful content, not this rage bait stuff. Yeah, so there you go, kneecap biting, saying something on from Reddit. Okay, so there's problem number one. And I'm not calling you out, Jeremy, but that's the issue. We're just taking what somebody said on Reddit, that Kafka's interviewing in Seattle. Here's what I do. I would call Seattle. I would reach out to their beat writers and say, what do you know about Kafka coming in today or tomorrow? Period. I go direct to the sources. And if I can't get headway I can't get in the door and I can't get someone to give me an answer, so be it. I don't report on it. Tried to reach out for comment, was declined. Don't know anything further. You know, but I'm definitely not going to take some rumor. Otherwise, it needs to be a rumor. It needs to be stated as a rumor, and at least Clutch Points stated in their article, Seahawks rumors. They didn't use the inflammatory ways of other people where Mike Kafka could be leaving to Seattle. You know, like, come on. It's totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different. You know, it's like using the word did versus not. You know, Mike McDaniel claps back at Detroit. Title, did Mike Daniel clap back at Detroit in this interview? Big difference. Right? Big difference between do or did.
Yeah.
You want to get into this video, and I know I've leaked it out this long. Let me get this lined up.
I just think Njoku, if we can get him cheap enough, you know, and not on some 3-4 year deal, that why not take a chance? I think he would fit from a coaching standpoint and from a player standpoint, be a great, solid complement to Sam Laporta and insurance in case something happens to Laporta.
Yeah, I'm pretty concerned about Laporta, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
But that's what we need in Detroit. We need an insurance policy and someone to complement.
Yeah, and to your point, I think that we need to take a bite out of the Levi Onwuzurike timeline. What happened with Levi? Now, no two back injuries are the same. No two spines are the same. No two bodies are the same. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But he had a back injury. And he ended up having, I believe, laminectomy, dissectomy, you know, and a fusion hardware added to his lower lumbar. And if that's the case, and Sam Laporta just had the same thing, it took Levi 2 seasons after that injury to actually play some meaningful downs in Detroit.
Yep.
As a defensive tackle. Hybrid, but defensive tackle. And if Sam Laporta has a similar issue, well, then we're in trouble. We're in big trouble because he's entering his 4th year now, right? So he's in a contract year.
This is.
And the same thing with Brian Branch in a contract year. Like, what do you do? I think it would be wholly irresponsible of Brad Holmes to sign either of those guys to long-term deals. Now, back when you know, last year or, you know, before the injuries happened, I was saying, okay, we are in a catch-22 here because everybody, you know, all these fans want to bring in these high-priced free agents, and I'll talk about Max Crosby here in a minute after this video. But we have to sign all of these other players. How's it going to fit? Well, now you're at this catch-22 where how can I afford to risk a big contract on Brian Branch, risk a big contract on Sam Laporta, and risk me not doing that and those players becoming some of the best ever? That's the catch-22. If you don't do it and you lose them, what happens if that player just becomes immortal in the NFL? Well, then you're really going to hate Brad Holmes. Well, what if you do it and that player turns out to have injury issue after injury issue after injury issue because of that one injury? And then you're going to hate Brad Holmes. You see the tough position that he's in?
How would you make some of these decisions if it was you? You take a coin and flip it?
You know what? I don't know.
They're 50-50 decisions. Like you know, you wanted to trade Kirby Joseph. I'm sure that went through his brain. And I'm sure he heard the noise about it. But man, what a coin flip Kirby was. Because now what do you do with him? That's a coin flip. What do you do with these big contracts you got coming up? It's a coin flip. You got 2 players coming off major injuries, an Achilles and a back. And they've both been all pros. They've both been Pro Bowlers. They've both proved it in their first 3 years in the NFL. If you put them on a new contract, are you going to give them a little cheaper because of those injuries? Probably not. So you are taking a big risk giving them that big money.
I think to your question, like, how would you make the decision?
Yeah, you'd have to flip a coin or something.
I think it starts at a conversation level. I think that you just have to bring Brian and Sam in and say, look, guys, before this injury, we were going to sign you to a massive deal. And we still want to. You're a big part of Detroit. You're a big part of this team. However, you have to respect your injury is the type of injury that is career defining. And what that means is your career could go like this, or your career could go like this, or your career could go like this. And I have to be able to answer to the public, answer the shareholders, answer to the team. Can we play out this season? And if you're doing fine, if you're playing well, I'm going to sign you before the end of the season. We're going to put the numbers together today. Here's the numbers. Would you agree we will sign this deal in the next several months if you can prove that you're healthy enough? That's the conversation that I would have. And you know what you have to risk at that point? You have to risk at that point that if that player has one of the best seasons ever, that they're going to want more money. And I think that that's where you set the expectation. Look, if you go out and have this type of a season without risking the team, I don't want you to be about personal accolades, then here's your number. If you have a better season than that, we'll talk. But the max number is this. Now, if you don't have a great season, but we feel like you're healthy enough to continue to play, we're going to give you a 1-year prove-it deal. And here's your number. Otherwise, we're just going to franchise tag you. And you don't want that either. Well, I would, but they probably won't. Because they can always do that. You can franchise tag at least one player a year. So I think it starts at the conversation level. And you just have to hope for the best, honestly. I think that's all the GM can do. What else can you really ask him to do, Eric? I mean,
yeah,
I don't even know at that point. But I think at the end of the day, you don't want to lose them. No. And you want to make sure that they are healthy enough to play.
I don't want to lose either one, but we got to know.
Okay, so before I play this, like you mentioned, I've tried to get you to understand who Drew Petzing is from my perspective.
Yeah.
And you said very adamantly, I need to hear from the guy as a Lion. I need to hear from him. I need to hear him speak. And I don't know if you were in the day that I played a couple of Petzing interviews post game. Yeah. And I'll tell you, it's going to be the same thing that we're going to hear right now. But when you mentioned that the guy is, on it, sharp, answering quick, right? No huff, no fluff.
Yeah, there's no hesitations, no pause, no When someone is a public speaker and they say all the time, they're just not prepared enough or not thinking about what they want to say before they say it. That's one. My dad. So
I'm terrible
at
it. I'm terrible at saying
My dad was in radio for his entire life. He ran 5 or 6 different radio stations. He was a radio station manager. And the first thing he would tell all of his new employees, never say and think about what you want to say before you say it.
Yeah, so I'm terrible with when I'm trying to fill air and instead of just shutting up and letting dead air be there, I'll use an or an O or a ah or something stupid.
But it's always better to think about what you want to say before you say it. And I catch myself doing it all the time.
Absolutely.
But like I listen to my local radio station when they're doing a live broadcast from like, let's say the local Ford dealership. And they're going, today we're at blah 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 Ford and they got some trucks on sale and I counted like 20 times in under 60 seconds that they said they're just trying to fill air. And when you have someone that is very well spoken, it's very much more impressive than when you have someone, let's say like Johnny Morton, that wasn't the best at public speaking. It makes very much a different perspective on how you view that person. So this is starting to change my mind on Drew Petzing just watching this interview here.
I think when you can speak the way that he speaks, I think it should give all fans a certain level of confidence. When you're looking for an offensive coordinator to be sharp, to be witty, quick-minded, right? You need to be you need to be on it. You got 15 seconds to communicate to your quarterback, and you don't want to hear one while you're trying to install a play in 15 seconds. There can't be any wavering. You have to be able to just go. It's go time. And Drew Petzing, when I first listened to him, I was like, this dude has it. He has it. He's super smart. There's a reason why he was at all these Ivy League schools. Let's listen to Drew Petzing. Enough of my talking. Here we go.
So did you guys see something in that Chargers defense that made you think that David could have a big day, or did it just kind of happen?
Yeah, I think it's, it's so hard with the type of players we have every week. You never know who's going to have a big game. I think that's the nice part about the way the offense is built and kind of the way that we operate and I think it makes it hard to defend. So I wouldn't say there was anything specifically where we said, hey, we're going to really try to emphasize this or really try to get him the ball. It's just kind of the way the game came up and the looks that he got, and he made the plays when his name was called, so that was really good to see.
I know you guys run a lot of 13 in general, but you were in it almost the whole first quarter. What was the thinking behind that?
Yeah, I think it's coming. Obviously you talk about what you like and where you're going to go early in the game, and we kind of got rolling. And once you get rolling, you kind of can have the ability to stay in something, right? That's the nice part about having a lot of different options. If we struggle early, we can get to a different personnel group. If we get rolling, which we did, which is great, stay in it and keep going until they seem to have an answer to stop it, and then go a different direction. So, just kind of had a lot of success with it early, and I think that kind of just kept us in it.
Why do you think it was so successful?
I mean, selfishly, because obviously the coaching of the tight ends. Those three guys are really talented players, and it's a good offense, and it allows us to be very multiple. I mean, I think you saw early in the game we spread them out with that grouping. We packed it in. We ran the ball. We threw the ball. And I think it goes back to our philosophy as an offense is just trying to be so multiple that a defense doesn't even know where to start or what to attack, and that really allowed us to have that success early in the game.
You guys see what David can do in practice, but how big for his confidence was him to sort of have a breakout game?
Yeah, I'm sure it was huge for him. I mean, as you said, he's out here every day working his tail off, and he shows up on the field a lot, Monday through Saturday. And so anytime a guy gets to go out and then show that to the world, I think it certainly builds his confidence and tells him he's doing the right things and working towards the right things. So it was really good to see.
When you saw him catch that, did you think he could outrun all those guys, or were you thinking?
Oh yeah. There's no doubt about that. That was not the issue. So when I saw the green grass in front of him, I was just hoping he didn't get tired or pull up, and he didn't, which was awesome. So I was really excited to see him get all the way into the end zone.
Can you touch on the importance of blocking these last couple of weeks with Chet dealing with the injury and now Conklin's dinged up?
Yeah.
How important it is for you to have your tight ends kind of help out in that regard on the end?
Yeah, I think, regardless of the injuries in that group, it's an important part of this offense. If you're going to be good at running the ball in this league, your tight end's generally going to have a big role in that. And those matchups are hard, and what we're asking them to do is not something that's easy, especially with the nature of the defensive ends that are in this league and that we've played so far this season. So just having those guys embrace that role and really work hard at the technique and the details of the game plan, and then see it to show up on Sunday, on game day, I think has been huge because it's a big part of our offense, and they've really embraced it.
What about the pass protection part of it? Do you feel like if your starters aren't out there, it seemed like the tight ends were asked to pass protect more last week?
I think it's a combination of who's out there and who we're playing. Anytime you get that type of edge rush, you're going to have to help out, and you see that across the league when you get great edge rushers. I know our guys deal with it a lot with the D-line that we have. That's part of the role, and it changes week to week kind of based on who we're playing. I'd say as much, if not more so, than who we have in the game.
Going back to David, this was sort of a long time coming for him. I think he's been waiting for a game like this, but he's also just sort of embraced what you guys want him to do. So I guess from that aspect, what does it say about him that he was a willing blocker, all of that stuff, before he had an opportunity like this?
Yeah, I think it's one of the reasons he was in the position to have those opportunities, because he excelled in all the other roles that make our offense successful, and then the ball goes where it does. And if you don't excel in those other roles, you're not going to be out there when the opportunity comes. So I think that was the really positive part of it from my standpoint, is he did embrace those roles, and he's excelled in some of those roles. And it's one of the reasons he's seeing all the playing time he's seeing, because we're really excited about the growth that he's made over the last year and a half and kind of the role that he's embraced. And then when the number gets called or the ball goes there, he's capable of making the play. So that was really good to see.
You guys ran that 13 a bunch last year. Are defenses kind of combating it any differently this year? Like, are they using different personnel packages?
Yeah, I think they're trying, and that's the fun part. It's like it's that chess match. Like, we do it, they know that we do it. What's their answer, and then how can we counter that? So that's kind of the in and out. I mean, during the week, during the game, I mean, they were throwing different looks at us, and we kept throwing different looks at them. And so it's that constant trying to find the balance and stay one step ahead of them in that grouping and in all the groupings.
Is there like a perfect, like if you call that, or Kevin, whatever, are you guys hoping to see a certain personnel package from them? Like, do you prefer they stay in base or they go to nickel? Or
I think that's the great part about those three guys and the offense as a whole, is they're so versatile that I don't feel like, hey, if they do this, we have to do that. It's really just, hey, whatever your answer is, we're going to go the other direction. So if you want to stop the run, we'll throw it. If you want to stop the pass, we can, obviously we can run the ball. So I think that's what really makes it hard for other teams to defend, and why it's been so successful for us over the last year and a half.
Did you like what? We'll do a couple more. Did you like what Austin was able to do on that 2-point conversion? Does he have to get reps catching an underhand like that?
Yeah, certainly something you have to rep during the week. But no, he had an amazing game. One of the better games that I've seen him play. I was really impressed with his performance as a whole. So it was great to see him execute in a big situation. And one of the things he has an unbelievable feel for is just the entire game of football. He's so good at the little details. I mean, that play is really nuanced. It involved him, getting a guy to do a certain thing and having the proper response and being in the right spot. So it was good to see him execute in that situation.
Drew, I know he's not a guy in your room, but what has Jarvis been like behind the scenes?
I mean, he's a consummate professional. He's out there every day talking to guys, working with guys, working on his craft, helping guys perfect theirs. I mean, he's a vet, and he gets it. And so it's been great having him around in the meetings. Obviously, we'd love to see him out there on the field because he's such a great player. But his attitude, kind of the energy he brings, and the way the guys gravitate to him, not only in the wideout room, but I think in all the position rooms, it's been fun having him out there, and obviously look forward to seeing him back out on Sunday.
You want a crazy stat, Eric?
Sure.
Here's a crazy stat of the day.
Yeah.
How many people are we having our live right now?
90.
Okay. We just had 92 people watching that video, which was about 10% of that video's total watch viewership. Really? Yeah. Brown's not getting a lot of love. Just like my channel right now is not getting a lot of love because I haven't done a damn thing. I'm down 79% in viewers gained. So do me a huge favor and make sure you guys do get the little bit of content that I've been putting out. Make sure you do put it out there. And with that, by the way, I'm not sure if I'm going to be on the rest of the week or not. I do have some things that I have to handle. If I can't handle it today, then I might have to hit the road to go handle a couple of things. Which is not a big deal, which gives me more time to continue writing. But let's talk about Drew Petzing for a moment. So I'm glad that you shared this video with us this morning, Eric, because again, I think it gives you, another view of Drew Petzing from a couple of years ago when he was with the Browns and how he felt. David Njoku was working within the offense, and if I'm not mistaken, that might have been Njoku's best season.
Yeah, that was after his big game there.
But that might have been his best season. Yeah, I think it was an 800+ yard season, which would have been his best season to date.
Yeah, and the thing I'm taking out of this is he at the time was coaching under Kevin Stefanski when he won Coach of the Year.
Yeah,
so that had to rub off on him a little bit. This is how my head coach is doing it. So now I'm getting all these promotions. I'm going to other teams. This is how this is what I took away from Kevin Stefanski, because Kevin Stefanski is a hell of a coach. He got Coach of the Year twice with the Browns.
So what's nuts is one, that Dan Campbell never received Coach of the Year. But let me ask you guys a question. Let me do a poll. We have some new options here got new options.
Cool.
Oh, it just says members only live stream. Schedule your live to switch to members only. Okay. All right. Let me ask the question. Does a coach of the year award... Now, how do I want to phrase this? Here's what I'm trying to ask you, and I'm going to frame it into a question. Is Coach of the Year award reliant upon the coordinators in their performance?
Yeah. It's got to be everything. It should be Staff of the Year. It shouldn't be Coach of the Year. Because the coach is just, he's the head of the staff.
Well, the reason why I'm asking that question in that way is because did Dan Campbell not get Coach of the Year because Ben Johnson outperformed and they felt that maybe Ben Johnson was doing more than Dan?
Well, Ben got Coordinator of the Year.
Okay. Well, did they think that Aaron Glenn was doing more than Dan and that's why Dan didn't get it? Because there's no way you can tell me in 23 or in 24 that Dan Campbell didn't deserve it. Especially in 24, having to navigate that minefield of injured reserve. It was almost like our fourth team. It was our fourth team. Our fourth offense, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got offense, defense, special teams, and injured reserve. There's no reason, there's no way you can possibly tell me that he didn't deserve it. And I guess so the question is, do the coordinators have a lot to do with that? Or could you have bad coordinator play and still win Coach of the Year? And I say that because how much did Drew Petzing's involvement in the offense in, when he was with the Browns and Kevin Stefanski winning Coach of the Year was he responsible? Does that make sense? I think was he the tight ends coach back then or no?
Yeah, he was the tight ends coach.
Yeah, I think he was. So that's just, I guess food for thought of the day. Anyway, Drew Petzing. So now that you've heard that, and maybe you've done a little bit more research about Drew Petzing, how do you feel?
I feel a lot better about him knowing that he was on a staff like that, and the way he's talking about the things they're implementing and the way they're running things, and you can tell he's not saying it's just me. It's us. It's everyone included, and I really like the way he spoke. And did you guys notice there's a bunch of effing construction going on behind him and around him, and it didn't faze him? Beep, beep, beep. And they're asking questions, and he just keeps right on going.
Well, you would think on the sideline there's a lot of construction going on, too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on that it could take your attention away. All right, take a quick break. We're going to come back with news about David Montgomery. Don't go anywhere.
Throwing middle, caught inside the 5. Jahmyr Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. 14 yards on the strike. Goff to Gibbs. You can't cover that man one-on-one. You just can't do it.
Nice job.
Jared takes the snap back, looking, throwing middle. Got Amon-Ra inside the 2, to the 1, to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra, St. Brown. Amon-Ra, St. Brown.
All right, to finish out the show, we're going to be talking about David Montgomery, Tim Twentyman's draft, and I guess some power rankings we're going to get into here for the last few segments of the show.
Got it back. Pressure comes. He's hit. Slips out of it. Rolling to his right. Now he's going down. Brian Branch got him. Sack for the Lions. Snap taken by Mariota. Wants to throw it. Going to get hit. Going to get sacked. Take it down. Brian Branch got him second time today. Pressure by.
Nice job.
All right. The one player that nobody wants to lose this season is David Montgomery. Now, David Montgomery made his rounds And during Super Bowl Radio Row week, he probably visited, I don't know, 7, 8 different channels and did multiple interviews promoting Scouts of America as an Eagle Scout. So there's, a little bit of double duty going on here, but he was asked some pretty tough questions. And more importantly, he gave some pretty straight up answers. We covered this already last week, but now there's a little bit more information, maybe a little bit more we should be talking about with David Montgomery. And it comes through the lens of Jahmyr Gibbs. So even though David Montgomery has not really been formally asked or has not formally asked for a trade to the Detroit Lions, at least yet, Jahmyr Gibbs is holding out hope that he's going to be back, right? I think everybody on the offense is holding out hope that David Montgomery is going to come back. Matter of fact, Drew Petzing reached out to David Montgomery briefly, as David Montgomery said last week. It even said that, there's plans for him in this offense, that he would like him to be a part of it. Now, I want to preface this by saying, when you watch players in interviews, podcasts, I don't care what it is, just because they don't say something doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. Just because they give you an answer a certain way doesn't mean that they're not thinking internally something different. And I'm not saying that players are just going to come to the mic and give you a bunch of BS. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is they give the PC answers. When players join the NFL, when they join college teams, they go through a grueling couple of weeks of, welcome to the NFL. This is how you speak to the media. They'll even go up to the players and say, look, you're going to be doing interviews this week. Here's your script. When you are asked this question about Jared Goff and he had a bad game, here's how you answer that. And they will spin it into, not a negative light, but they will use certain words. And so if you listen to multiple, now you're going to do it, right? Now, if you go listen to multiple different interviews of post-game from players on every different team out there, you're going to hear kind of the same thing. They kind of give the same answers. They're just tailored into the situation that their team is in. And it's done that way by purpose. Why? You're never going to hear a player come out. Well, I mean, you could. It's rare. But you're never going to hear a player come out and say, Jared Goff sucked today. We would have won this game if Jared Goff didn't throw those 5 interceptions. Man, if Jared could just run a little bit, we would win more games. If David Montgomery didn't fumble, we got this game in the bag. You're not going to hear that. What you are going to hear is things like, could have played better today. We need to play up to the standard. Now, we all, we kind of let our defense down. As an offense today, our defense was really holding us up, and we just didn't do a good job. Now, we got to convert better. We got to be more explosive. So in the case of Johnny Morton sucking all last year when he was the offensive coordinator, you're going to hear players saying, yep, we needed to execute a little bit better. Man, if we can just stick to our details and, execute, we'll be just fine. So you're going to get PC answers that sound like they're giving you real answers, but honestly, they've already been groomed on how to speak to media. This is no surprise. And again, I prefaced all of this because when you hear David Montgomery being asked questions about this year's team, he's under contract. He's going to answer those questions with the affirmative. I can't wait to see what we do in this offense this year. I just spoke with Drew Petzing. He says he's got a lot planned for me in this offense. I think our offense is going to be great this year under Drew Petzing. Even though, in the background, it may be he was unhappy last year. Maybe there was some things said. Maybe there was some things done that you can't walk back. Maybe David Montgomery blew up after a game that we'll never hear about. Maybe he had words with coaches that we'll never know about. And maybe, you know, when Brad Holmes came to the mic and specifically spoke about David Montgomery, that was for the real reason that their plans are to trade him. And that they're trying to softball it to the fans to try to lessen the blow a little bit, because I think that they all understand how fans of this team are heavily attached to players. I don't know if every fandom is like that or every fan base is like that, but it seems like in Detroit, we get really attached to players when we shouldn't. We've got to let the organization do what they deem is best. Now, it should be as no surprise that this is David Montgomery's first season of his new extension, where he's going to be making more money, more guaranteed money, more money overall. So it should be no surprise that that extension was possibly done with the foresight of, okay, if Jahmyr Gibbs ends up proving that he's the number one, this is the year that we walk away, because we need to save that money. We have to get on the positive side of the salary cap before the new league year. There's going to be some things happening over the next 30 days. I can guarantee you that. Well, actually, when is the new league year? What's the date?
March 9th.
Is that it for sure?
Give me 1 second.
I always thought it was in February. Or it's March 11th. March 11th, 4 p.m. For some reason, I always thought it was the end of February. So, yeah, 30 days exactly. Over the next 30 days, there's going to be some moves. And the reason why is that the Lions have to get on the positive side of that salary cap. Now, they may not be, or there may not be that many moves because they have a rollover. And that will get them on the positive side. I don't know when that rollover must only take place when the new league year hits. Here's what Jahmyr Gibbs said about David Montgomery. He said, quote, "Of course I want David back. The whole team would want David back, but it's ultimately up to him. He's going to do what's best for him and his family, and whatever he decides to do, I'm going to support 100%. But of course, we want him back, though." I think it's a blanket statement that he's just trying to cover all bases. We want him back, but it's in David's hands. That doesn't sound like a Jahmyr Gibbs that is confident that he's coming back. And again, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to infer and gaslight you and say, well, Jahmyr Gibbs didn't say he wasn't coming back, so that means he is coming back. I'm not going to do that. Other people can do that. I'm not going to do that. And what I'm speaking about is the BS that I heard about Max Crosby's interview and say they're saying, or well, he didn't say he wasn't coming back. He didn't say that he was going to be a Raider. He didn't say that he was going to play in Vegas. So that means he's coming to Detroit, because he didn't say any of that. What? That's literally what I heard last night.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, then there was that rumor last night that Max Crosby behind closed doors told Tom Brady he's never playing another down for the Las Vegas Raiders.
And so ask yourself this question. If it was behind closed, this is how stupid some people are. If this was written.
How did it get anywhere?
How did it get anywhere? Who was in the room? Besides Tom and Max, who was in the room? Somebody answer the question, because I don't know, unless you were a fly in the wall.
Yeah.
How would you? I mean, Tom's not going to go out and say that, right? He's not going to go leak that. Maybe he would. Maybe he wouldn't. I don't think he would.
I don't either.
Is Max going to go leak that? Well, there's only two people then that know where that conversation came from. And if it wasn't me, it was you. And if it wasn't you, it was me. So then now you have two people to blame, right?
Yeah.
David Montgomery is due a reasonable base salary of $5.5 million this year, of which 1.75 is guaranteed. So if you walk away from David Montgomery this year, whether it's through release or trade, the Lions are they're not gonna lose a bunch of money here.
Yeah.
Here's what who said this part? Hold on. Who said this part?
While you're looking that up.
No, I've got
March.
it. I just got to grab.
Oh, okay. March 9th is the legal tampering period. That's why
Yeah.
I thought March
Yeah.
9th.
March 11th is the actual league year.
Yeah.
So I think this is still David. I think this is still Jahmyr Gibbs. It says, look, those discussions that we are going to have are a lot more in depth in terms of what is best plan for. Oh, this is Brad Holmes. Excuse me. Let me start over. Brad Holmes said, quote, look, and this was when he addressed the media after the season ended. He said, look, those discussions that we are going to have a lot more in depth in terms of what is the best plan for him going forward, him being David Montgomery. Is it somewhere else or whatever the case be, but just really appreciate everything that he has done for us if it does end up going that way. I hope it doesn't, because we love David Montgomery. He's a good football player and wish we would have been able to get more utilization for him. End quote. That to me sounded like, again, a GM that's trying to get in front of something. Whether or not he's trying to lay the cover fire down and say, look, I'm expecting that it's going to come out from his agent or him that he's asking for a trade. I've got to get this out there. Or we know that David was really upset last season, and I'm going to go out there and publicly state we were wrong. We should have gotten him more involved. And maybe that'll make him feel better and want to stay. You're going to say something?
If you were David Montgomery, put yourself in his shoes last year, going down the stretch in some of those games, wouldn't you have been kind of upset that you were not being utilized whatsoever? They put you in for a series, you drive them 80 yards down the field, and you score a 24-yard touchdown, and then you don't touch the ball the rest of the game, and you lose the game, and that would have got you in the playoffs.
Which game was that?
Steeler game.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know, man. That Steeler game was not well constructed.
No, that entire game was I'm sorry, it was a shit show.
Yeah, it was.
The entire game.
He also mentioned on the Chris Sims Unbuttoned podcast that when he spoke with Lions offensive coordinator Drew Petzing, where he said, quote, he let me know that he wants me to be part of the offense and predicted, I didn't hear this part, we were going to the Super Bowl. End quote. I can't believe Drew Petzing said that we're going to the Super Bowl like that. Like, that's crazy.
Allegedly.
Yeah, well, I mean, it came out of David's mouth during the podcast. I've got the video of it.
Yeah.
So asked in the same interview about losing carries to Gibbs, Montgomery said, quote, no question, that he wants to be part of the offense. But he also said that, everybody who is a competitor, quote, wants to play and everybody wants to be involved. I don't think that we can sugarcoat the fact that David Montgomery this is a bad term, butthurt. It's a bad term. Upset's probably a better term. I don't know. Not happy about the fact that he wasn't utilized and utilized more, and the fact that he is such a big competitor that he wants to be out there. He doesn't want to be on the sideline. David knows he can go start for 16 teams right now. Today. One of them being the Chiefs. The other thing that David said was this, quote, the good thing about this thing is I'm an incredible teammate, and I'll do whatever it is to ensure that my team is going in the right direction. But I also want to be part of that also. So there's no mincing of words here. David wants to be in the offense. He wants to be a part of it. And there was some really good things that he said about Jahmyr Gibbs. And matter of fact, when he talked about Jahmyr Gibbs, it was, look, I can't, basically I'm paraphrasing, he can't fault the Lions for putting Jahmyr Gibbs out there at number 1 because he is an elite class running back. And he would never take a side eye to the fact that Jahmyr Gibbs is really good, great, borderline elite, whatever term you want to use, and he knows what's best for the team. That putting Jahmyr Gibbs out in front is what's right for the team. Anybody would do that. And he understands that. And he also understands that when you have players like that, it's rare. He is nowhere going to ever compare himself to Jahmyr Gibbs and think that he's better than Jahmyr Gibbs, is the kind of vibe that he was giving off. He knows that Jahmyr is special. And there's nothing wrong with that. And him expressing that and understanding that. Another thing, with Barry Sanders, when he addressed this kind of situation over the last week during press row in the Super Bowl, he said, quote, "I think those guys have different skill sets, and so I wouldn't necessarily want to see them broken up. But at the same time, I know they have to do what's best for them. And like I said, either one of them could be RB1 anywhere else." And that's a fact. It is a fact.
John Desage in the chat has a interesting statement, and he says, what if it's not David wants out? What if it's Brad setting it up to trade him away?
Well, that's what I've been saying from day one.
And but it's Brad's idea to trade him, not
I
David's.
got you. Not David's idea to leave.
Yeah. Not that David wants to leave. It's that Brad wants to trade him away.
I could get on that bus, but at the same time, I think that when you listen to what David has said, I think it's pretty clear and obvious that David wants out or has said as much because he has not been involved in the offense. I mean, if you listen to all the things that he has said over the last week about his usage, it is clear. He's not happy about his usage. He wants to play. He wants to be part of an offense. He wants to be more part of the offense than he was this last year, and feels that he can offer way more than the opportunity that he's been given in Detroit. That's summing up everything that he has said. And at the same time, he loves Jahmyr. He recognizes he's an elite player. And just wants to do what's best for the team. And that's why, look, I think that David is a great teammate too. And he said as much, and I'm glad that he did. He's sticking up for himself, where he's saying, look, I'm not going to go over here and pout, whine, and cry or not support my guy. I'm going to support my guy. I'm going to do what's right for the team too. I'm not going to cause any issues. By supporting the guy, but I will cause some issues if I don't support the guy. If you're over there on the bench, not involved, just watching the game from the bench, not up, not with your guys, that sends a clear message. David didn't do that. He was right there, ready to roll. I think David's the ultimate teammate. But I also believe that David can do a lot more than what he's being asked to do. But at the same time, I would just ask David this, man. What is more important? Your stats or Super Bowl? Because if your stats are more important to you right now, then I would say this isn't the right team for you. Because the Super Bowl is the most important. And if you just learned anything by the Seattle Seahawks, they are an unselfish team. Everybody's contributing, and nobody's asking for more. They did what they needed to do to win as a team. And that's how we were in 2023. And that's who we were in 2024. So what the hell happened in 25? This team it has a stain on it, Eric. And I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I told you all season, it did not feel right. Something felt off in that locker room that I was never in. I wish that I was now, because something is off. And if none of these reporters that are in there have picked up on it, or maybe they're asked not to write about it, I'd be curious to know what maybe they have seen and heard that they can't write about. Because something wasn't right. All right, what do you think about David?
Well, I'm going to do this. Go back and look at 23. Go look back at 24, and then take a look at 25. Okay? 25, as far as our balanced rushing attack in 25, sucked ass. In 24 and 23, it was awesome because we would put in one running back for a series, and then another running back for a series, and another running back for a series, and another running back for a series. We never quite went with the hot hand, and us as fans, we always bitched, oh, come on, we need more Gibbs, we need more Gibbs, we need more Gibbs. So what'd they do this year? They gave us more Gibbs, and it didn't work out. We won 9 friggin' games. I'd rather go back to what was working before, when we won 15 games and 12 games. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Okay.
That's my 2 cents on that. Go back to what was working.
I will.
I know that Gibbs is this elite talent, but I think you get more out of him when you're not overusing him.
Well, I will say this because we've done the stats. Not to overly disagree with you, because I think that your statement is spot on. But I want to bring some statistical analysis into that. Okay, we know that based on the number of carries, that David Montgomery's carries were less. Based on the usage in the offense, David Montgomery's usage was actually 10% more than 24. We know based on the situation with the offensive line, I don't think it really mattered who was behind Jared Goff. I think I understand your point that, don't break, don't fix what's not broken. I understand that. I don't think if David was back there more, or Gibbs back there less, however you want to frame it, that the outcome would have been any different, because our offensive line was not good.
Yeah.
That's how I view it. And I understand. I get what you're saying, though. I just don't want to.
I think Gibbs could have had more success last year if they used David to set it up. And they didn't do that. They didn't use David to wear down that defensive line like they did before.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put Gibbs in, and all of a sudden, holy crap, there he goes.
I hear you. I think that the communication issues, the lack of the 7-man protections, or even 6-man protections, the lack of Sam Laporta. I mean, so once you start to remove,
unraveled.
Once you start to remove that intermediate threat of Sam Laporta, that's where they can load the box. Now, exactly why we're talking about tight ends today a little bit too. When you have that intermediate threat back in the game, whether it's Sam Laporta or Kyle Pitts or David Njoku, somebody they have to respect, right? Nobody respected. Well, Brock Wright was gone because he injured his neck because he decided to dive like a fool. Well, I'm not making fun of his injury, but you know what I'm saying. Like, that was just pointless. If you look at, Ferksker and these other guys, nobody respected those guys. And that's why some of them, Ferksker made a couple of plays.
Yeah.
But nobody respected those guys. And when you don't respect the tight end, you are able to load the box. And if you load the box, that's going to shut down the run. And if you load the box and you bring pressure on Jared Goff, he may not have enough time to get the ball out, and then the routes aren't opening up. And for whatever reason, Jameson Williams is not creating separation. We can't just rely on Amon-Ra St. Brown. We can't. Someone has to get separation. So there was just a tornado of things going on. But I firmly believe if Sam Laporta was in the game the last half of the season, I believe we win 2 or 3 more games.
Oh yeah.
I firmly believe that. I based on the research that I've been doing about these tight ends, I mean, one of the things that I mentioned yesterday about Kyle Pitts is, even in 13 personnel, right? You would think that they're going to come in, they're going to load the box because they're thinking run. And then if they run my torch play, then the next second you've got Pitts out at the X, you got Jameer up in the slot, and you already had either J-Mo or Monroe St. Brown in there, but I use J-Mo as an example. You got him lined up wide on the other side. They better call a timeout or they're screwed. Because now you're singled up man on man, and you've got speedsters in the game you can't hang with. And if you need 2 yards to 10 yards, it don't matter. The Lions will get it. Because you've already got 2 tight ends in tight, so now you got 7-man protection for Jared Goff. Empty set, shotgun, 2 steps, bang. There's your quick glance or your seam route, whatever. It's gone. It's an easy first down. That is why it's so important to bring in another high-level tight end that can make plays. I know a lot of people disagree, and they're going to say, we need offensive line, Will, and we need secondary. I get it. I know we do. But when I look at free agency, I look at free agency from the perspective of what can we fix in free agency that we can't fix in the draft or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And in free agency, there's tight ends that are going to be available, very few left tackles, a couple centers, couple defensive ends, couple linebackers. There's just not a lot that the Lions really need. A couple safeties for sure in free agency. And then whatever you pick up in free agency, now you've reset and now you go to the draft. And that's where I believe that left tackle is possibly going to come from, because unless another left tackle becomes available, or if someone is willing to trade a left tackle, I don't see where we're going to find a left tackle in free agency. At least not to the level of Taylor Decker or better. There's plenty of mid-level guys. There's not many elite guys out there.
It may be more advantageous for the Detroit Lions to draft a left tackle than to bring someone in free agency, because then you can bring them along slowly, especially if Taylor is good to go for this next year. And then you have this kid as the backup.
Mm-hmm.
Give him a year to get, not just throw him to the coals. But if Taylor Decker has a setback, there you go. You got your insurance policy. We didn't have that great of an insurance policy this year. The one we did have, Giovani Manu, got hurt right away. So we don't even know what he is.
You know, I've said this many a times before. I hope that people are beginning to understand that players like Giovani Manu, they're not tasked with coming in to start. Those guys are coming in to learn and become quality backups. And that's exactly what he's going to be. He could be the next swing tackle of the future, the next Dan Skipper. And so if you're telling me that if the Lions were able to draft Dan Skipper, he was a UDFA, I believe, right? Skip, wasn't he a UDFA?
Yeah. So I got a unique question about Skipper.
Well, hold on, let me finish my thought here.
Go ahead.
So Skip was a UDFA, I think it was 2018, 2016, somewhere in that range. Instead of drafting, or instead of bringing him in as a UDFA, if you would have said to the Lions fans that they drafted Dan Skipper in the 4th round, right, end of the 3rd, basically the 4th round, were the picks that you gave away, would you have been okay with Dan Skipper being a 3rd or a 4th round pick with his usage and how many snaps he played and the quality that he gave the Lions?
Sure.
Especially during his, his more premier years, if you will, his more prime years. What would you think? Would you agree or disagree that it would have been better if you drafted him? It would have been okay.
Oh yeah, I'd have took him as a 3rd round pick.
Okay,
sure.
So then what's wrong with Manu if Manu develops and becomes that next swing tackle and is able to be a backup, as a right or a left tackle, probably left, as needed, come in for 7-man protections or 6-man protections, come in your jumbo sets, massive human, can displace people with violence for sure, has great speed, can move up to the second level with ease. Why? What is the difference then between a Skipper and a Manu?
Yeah.
Well,
What if they drafted him to be Skipper when Skipper was gone?
It's exactly what I've been saying, though, right?
Yeah.
That's
Skipper was undrafted in 2017.
Yeah. I feel like when you look at Manu and why he was brought in, the future was, okay, Decker's under contract for the next 3-4 years. You didn't bring this guy in to start. You brought this guy in to learn and to be a backup, thinking that Decker's going to be able to play at a high level, hopefully not suffer any major injuries. That's what every GM's thinking, and that's what every GM does. But you got a guy that's a freak of an athlete. That body size does not exist very often. Very rare. Very, very, very rare. And so it was the right move. Now, if he becomes, the next wave of swing tackle and jumbo guy, if he can catch a pass, man, he's going to be deadly. And I get it. I mean, I saw the comment in there about coming off of an ACL. Didn't he have a PCL?
Who's that?
Manu?
Yeah, Manu did not have an ACL.
What was his injury? Was it PCL?
Yeah, it was something with his knee, but he came back at the end of the year. He just couldn't crack it back onto the squad.
Well, I don't think they really needed him at that point.
No.
He was on injured reserve after week 5. And
There was an MCL or a PCL, something like that.
oh my God, here's an article 2 days ago. Frustrating Lions draft pick could be counting down his final days in Detroit. Giovani Manu.
Jesus.
4th round pick in 2024, seen as a project selection. The Canadian tackle could be an insurance policy to lean on behind Taylor Decker. God, I hate these people.
Yeah.
Counting down his days. Let's see. Manu's currently under contract at 27, but his cap hit is insignificant, of course.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, doesn't mention anything about his knee injury. I'm trying to find what the damn knee injury was, and I don't know why I can't find it. It just says knee injury. It doesn't say anything else.
Yeah. It wasn't a season ender or anything like that, because they started his clock to bring him back. I did have a question though with Skipper.
Yeah.
So the Detroit Lions just recently this week lost another offensive line assistant coach, Seth Ryan, to the New York Jets. I wonder if the Detroit Lions would bring in Dan Skipper to be that new assistant.
Could be. Interesting. You know what's funny? I just saw an article. Oh, this is hilarious. It's the exact verbiage I used in one of my segments about Giovani Manu from a couple weeks ago.
Somebody watching.
Yep. And the exact words they use, irresponsible. Remember that?
I don't.
You remember the segment where I was talking about how irresponsible it would be for the Lions to bank on Giovani Manu as the heir apparent, the backup, how irresponsible it would be for Tate Rowledge to be the next center and to not go out there and draft your next guy of the future? That's hilarious. Next time, just quote me instead of just writing your article about things that I say. It's pathetic. Yeah, I'd be interested to see what happens with Skip. Anyway, let's move forward. Anything else we need to cover on this?
Nah. We can do Tim 20-man or we can do the ESPN.
Well, let's go with Tim 20-man here for a moment.
All right.
because, and I'll just start at number 17, or actually you can. Why don't you lead us through, why don't we find all of the NFC North opponents and tell us who Tim Twentyman thinks that they're going to be drafting, if they're even in here. Are they all in here?
No, they're all behind us.
No, but did he end at 17?
Yeah, he just went to 17. That was it.
What the hell, Tim?
Yep.
What?
Yep.
Oh, let's just go through the first 17.
He just went 1 to 17.
Come on, Tim. It says mock 1.0. You got to go through 1 through 32, buddy.
Just for Lions.
Tim. Love Tim, man. Does great work. All right, Las Vegas. 3-13. It seems destined for the Raiders to select the quarterback in the first round for the first time since 2007. Fernando Mendoza from Indiana. Heisman Trophy winner and national champion. Clearly the top quarterback in the class. Have you listened to Fernando Mendoza speak?
No.
I would advise it. He's goofy. I'll just say that. He's goofy. He's you remember a couple, I don't know, months, years ago, whatever it was, where I was talking about what Travis Kelce said about Patrick Mahomes and how you have to be some level of a nerd to be a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Just go watch Fernando Mendoza and tell me what you think tomorrow. If we're on tomorrow, I would go watch a couple of his interviews. Just tell me what you think. He's goofy.
Yeah.
I can see why he gets it, man. He's goofy. I love his answers. All right, number 2, what are the Jets going to do?
The Jets own 2 first-round picks and 4 in the top 50. They need an infusion of young talent on both sides of the ball. So his pick is for edge Arvell Reese from Ohio State. Head coach Aaron Glenn loves versatile defenders, and Reese might be the most versatile player in the draft with his ability to play on the line of scrimmage as an edge rusher and in space as an off-ball linebacker. He'll get his Tracy Scroggins in the draft at number 2.
David, I put this in the chat, but once I think what you're pointing to is if Skip was the assistant, you said he could still suit up. So there's actually a rule. We went into this last year, I believe. Once you go to coaching, you are removed for a year. You cannot play. Nope. You would have to retire from coaching and then wait an entire season to be able to play again, because we thought about that with
Denver.
No, well, yeah, but the Hamilton. Who's Deshaun? Is it Deshaun Hamilton? Who's the linebackers coach?
I don't remember.
He was playing linebacker for us, and then he decided to be a coach.
Oh, I know who you're talking about, too.
Not Sean Dion Hamilton. Excuse me. That's not it. What's his name?
I don't remember. Kelvin Shepard?
No. No. Yeah, no, it is Sean Dion Hamilton.
Oh,
It is him. He went to coaching. He was a linebacker for us, and then he wasn't cutting it. He went to coaching. So when he was getting cut, he decided to become a coach, and that's where he's been ever since. So he could never play linebacker again unless he was done for at least the whole season. All right, now number 3 here, Tim 20man says that Arizona at 3-14. The bigger question is, will they be playing? What does this say? The big question is Arizona is who will be playing. Big question in Arizona is who will be playing quarterback. Wow, I couldn't read that. For the Cardinals in 2026, but there's no clear quarterback option at number 3. Yeah, there's not 2 quarterbacks in the top 10 of this draft, at least not right now. So he thinks it's going to be Spencer Fano, Utah, going trenches. That would be a smart move if Kyler Murray's still there or not. No matter who you bring in or who you draft next year, I have a feeling Arizona will be right back where they are now and get your quarterback of the future. Who's at number 4?
Number 4 is the Tennessee Titans. Last year's number 1 pick, Cam Ward, needs help on offense. But Tennessee also needs to bolster a defense that ranked 28th in points allowed in 2025. So his pick is wide receiver Carnell Tate from Ohio State. That's 2 Ohio State guys. One of the top remaining edge rushers, certainly fits too, but Tennessee's leading receiver last season, Alec Ayamanor, had just 515 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. Tate gives Ward a big play threat after averaging 17.2 yards per catch for the Buckeyes in 2025. So a wide receiver going to Tennessee.
Sorry. Who did he think is going to go there? Carnell Tate?
Yeah, Carnell Tate.
Ooh. That's interesting. Carnell Tate is special. Like, he's super special. I don't know if he's going to be the number 1 receiver off the board, though. I guess it depends on what Tennessee really needs, size-wise. But Carnell Tate is special, man. His film is insane. Number 5, the New York Giants at 4-13 with a nice collection of young offensive skill players set to return. The new coach John Harbaugh is going to work fixing New York's 28th ranked defense in 25. Cornerback Mansour Delane, LSU, has a chance to be New York's top cornerback day 1 and is considered the best cornerback in the class after recording 6 interceptions and 18 passes defended the last 2 seasons combined for Virginia Tech and LSU. Look, I think that Mansour Delane is good. But I don't think that's where they're going to go. Honestly. So if I were to disagree here, and I can't remember who's on the Giants board. You know what? I'll save that. Because next week, Monday, I do my first mock Monday. I'll save that. Never mind. Let's go to Cleveland.
All right, Cleveland. A wide receiver or edge rusher could be in play, but Cleveland needs to address a patchwork offensive line that surrendered 51 sacks in 2025. So the pick, tackle Francis Mauigoa from Miami. Terrific size and strength with plenty of room to grow and develop. And I have no clue how to say that last name. Mauigoa?
Mauigoa, yep.
Okay. Francis Mauigoa. So there's one of our tackles off. That's the second offensive lineman. It's second tackle taken.
Brian Brady, you better come with some facts, dude. Otherwise, I'm going to have to destroy you here in just a minute. Better come with some facts, because I'll give you the NFL rule if you really want it. I don't know why it's constant, man. It's all you do. You push and you push and you push, but you don't bring any facts. I've got the facts.
Minshew wasn't a coach and then came back to play.
Okay, number 7, Washington, 5-12. Washington must address the defense that was last in the league in total defense, 384 yards per game, in the middle of the road in sacks, 42. The pick is edge David Bailey, Texas Tech. Bailey has a great get-off. I hate that word. Great get-off. In production, it's almost like coming up in the rear. To match after recording 14.5 sacks, 19.5 tackles for loss for the Red Raiders. Tim Twentyman thinks that Texas Tech edge Bailey is going to Washington.
All right. And then number 8, the New Orleans Saints. The Saints need help along their defensive front and secondary and could use help at receiver too. But this is a good spot at number 8 for the best player available. And now this is Will's favorite player in this draft so far, running back Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame. Giving a young quarterback like Tyler Shuck, arguably the best playmaker in the draft, seems like a perfect pairing for the Saints, and I would have to agree. And I know you love Jeremiah Love.
Oh, I do. That kid is going to be, he's going to be special. That is your next mix of Derrick Henry and Jahmyr Gibbs. He's deadly. Yeah, so Brady, it doesn't appear to be a question, buddy. It looks like a statement. Like
Minshew was never a coach.
Like you're asking why Eric and I are stating that they have to wait a year. Like that was a statement. But if it was a question, then we're all good. I'm just saying, if I tell you something, I'm not going to tell you a lie. Like that's not my goal. Kansas City 6-11, a rare chance. Not to say I've never been wrong before, because I've been wrong many times in my life, but I know that rule by far. Kansas City 6-11, a rare chance for the Chiefs to pick up in the top 10, snagging a young playmaker for either side of the ball. You're going to get two defensive linemen going in the top 10. Was that the third one? Is it the third one? Let's see, who was number 2? This will be the third one. So he has Ruben Bain. Oh, God, that'll be terrible. Ruben Bain going to the Chiefs. Much needed disruptor up front in Kansas City, as they only recorded 35 sacks and 25. Bain had 9.5 sacks and a whopping 71 pressures last season for the Hurricanes.
Whew. And then we got Cincinnati at 6-11. The Bengals must start finding some young foundational players on defense. So their pick, safety Caleb Downs from Ohio State. This is the third Ohio State player I've read so far.
Yep.
Downs had a terrific football IQ and great instincts and can be a versatile player in the back end of the Bengals defense. Cincinnati hasn't ranked higher than 25th in total defense the last 3 seasons since All-Pro safety Jesse Bates Jr. left.
You know, there are some. I was just thinking of something here for a moment. There's some interesting, like really good wide receivers in this draft. And I was trying to think, Cardinal Tate going as the number 1 overall receiver. I really disagree with that. I just can't get it off my mind.
Yeah. Who's the receiver you think goes number 1?
Well, I mean, there's a couple that I would look into. Mekhi Lemon and Denzel Boston. Possibly.
Who's that kid from Miami?
From Miami.
Yeah. There was one in Miami that was really good during the playoffs.
Oh, Miami.
I'm horrible with all the names of these kids because I don't watch college football
you're
except for
forcing me to remember a college right now.
No worries.
Hold on. I'll just have to go to my list. Let's see. I just can't think of anyone from Miami. I mean, there's some good players, obviously, but was it Daniels?
No, there was one kid in that national championship game that was really that in the game before for Miami that played really well as a wide receiver.
Are you sure it was a wide receiver?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't a tight end?
I don't think so.
Well, there's Daniels.
No. I thought it was Miami. Maybe I'm thinking wrong.
Sorry, let me just pause for just a second here. Let me just look at something. Yeah, it was Daniels, wasn't it? Oh, Malachi.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Malachi. Yeah, that was a crazy game for him. Crazy game for him. I don't.
Is he not?
He's not in the draft. That's I'm like. There's no way.
Oh.
Yeah, he was a freshman.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's got a couple more years, man. Imagine where he's going to be.
Yeah,
You know, in 2020. You know, after 2028, or
I watched
entering 2028.
I watched the 2 games leading up to the national championship and the national championship. That's all the college I watched this
Man,
year.
you had me all discombobulated. I couldn't think of anybody that was in the draft.
Not yet eligible. Man, he's better than the kids going.
Yeah,
into the
he's
draft.
got a hot minute, but he's crazy good.
Yeah.
All right, number 11, Miami. Did we already do that one? Because we just mentioned Miami. We didn't do that one, right?
Yeah, that's on you.
Okay, so Miami, according again to Tim Twentyman, this is where one of my favorite corners in the draft, Jermod McCoy, is going to end up going, according to Tim Twentyman. That Jeff Hafley knows that fixing the Dolphins defense that is finished last in opponent completion percentage and in passes defensed must be a priority. But he sat out 25 with a torn ACL, but it also happened last January. So he should be ready to rock and roll this spring. I do not believe that Jermod McCoy is going to fall down the draft board a whole lot. Given the fact that he's got the ACL, he's going to have plenty of time for pro days and combine, and he'll be healthy enough to do it all. As long as he does it all, I think that he's still a first-round pick. But my goodness, if he slips, I'm telling you right now, if he slips to 17, he will be a Lion.
So is this kind of like a JMO situation, except you won't be missing that first year?
Yeah, exactly. So JMO happened late in the season, whereas he happened prior to the season. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
He happened in January at the tail end of the season last, not in 25, but 24.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, JMO, I think he happened in the championship game or something. So yeah, big
and then
difference.
he was getting drafted that year.
Jermod McCoy is exciting. All right, number 12.
Number 12, everybody's favorite, the Dallas Cowboys, could use an infusion of young defensive talent along all 3 levels. So their pick is linebacker Sonny Styles from Ohio State. So, man, all the even numbered picks have been Ohio State players so far. Jeez, oh Pete. So linebacker Sonny Styles, the former safety turned linebacker, can fit gaps and run sideline to sideline as an instant playmaker in the second level for the Cowboys. Man, he likes some Ohio State guys. 4 in the top 12.
Sonny is another one that, again, if he slips, which I don't expect right now, if he slips, he will be a Lion. I hate using this phrase, and I've used it a little bit lately, but when you talk about a skeleton key, right, a key that can unlock everything, he is that skeleton key of a defense, meaning you can put him anywhere, and he's going to tear you up. I project him more as a 3-4 defense, not a 4-3 or 4-2, hybrid style of a defense. I project him more playing 3-4 outside linebacker.
Could he be Alex Anzalone replacement?
1,000%. He's 6'4", 243. And just a stunning football player. He's not, doesn't get in the backfield a whole lot. But you want to talk about someone that can cover. Our biggest issue is coverage downfield, right? Alex Anzalone is great going sideline to sideline. He's good against the run. His coverage is good. It's not elite. This guy brings elite coverage ability. Is fast. He's got decent weight at his height. I would say he might be a little thin. The bigger question is, can he tackle? 1,000%. Is his coverage elite? 1,000%. Is he great in the run defense? 1,000%. Everything is elite about this guy other than his pass rush, which could be worked on. I think that if you put him in the right system and you use him in leverage situations where you're sending a linebacker on a delayed blitz, or you send him out wide and you put him outside of Aiden or whomever's on one side, and you send him send him in on the blitz, and then you drop your other guy back into coverage. There's so many different ways to utilize him, but Sonny Styles is a game changer.
Can he hold on to an interception when it hits him in the hands?
Hopefully. I don't know how many interceptions he's had, but he's been mocked up on my board as like the next Jihad Campbell.
Oh, okay. He worked out pretty well for the Eagles in last year's draft.
Dude's just he's a freak. He's on the freaks list too.
I got to get that again.
The freaks list?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. All right, who's next for us?
We got the you're up next.
I just did one, didn't I?
No, I just did.
Oh.
You're up next at 13. You're doing odd, I'm doing even.
Okay, Los Angeles Rams. Rams struggled at times this season limiting opponent passing attacks, and that was certainly the case in the NFC Championship game to Seattle. 334 passing yards allowed and 3 touchdowns. Cornerback Colton Hood, Tennessee. It's been 6 drafts since the Rams addressed their cornerback situation with a top 100 pick. Hood could be that plug-and-play starter. You know the name that I haven't seen yet? Hold on, let me just make sure I didn't miss something while you were talking. Oh, no, there he is at number 10. Caleb Downs. All right, and who's on 14?
All right, number 14, the Baltimore Ravens could use help along both sides of the line of scrimmage, so they're going to pick guard. Oh, God. Loan, Penn State. The interior of Baltimore's offensive line could look much different next season if center Tyler Linderbaum leaves in free agency. Loan is a classic Ravens pick as a plug-and-play road grader inside with nimble feet.
I'm trying to find Bruce Feldman's. All right, I'll come back to that. You got to go back and look at 25. So number 15, right?
Yep, you're on 15.
Yeah, 15 here. So the Bucs have some key defensive players scheduled to hit free agency, one of them being Jamel Dean and Levante David. And they need to start infusing some young talent into that unit. Edge, Caldrick Falk, Auburn. Falk is terrific size, 6'6", 270, has the skill set that translates well to the NFL, even with a lack of production in 2025 in Auburn's mostly 3-man front. Put him on the edge and let him go. Here's what I'll say about players like Keldrick Falk. Last year, Nick Scorton was pretty high on my list. Reason for it was because of what you just saw as his rookie season. A lot of Detroit Lions fans that entered this chat, that conversated with us weekly, especially during the draft, kept saying, "Ain't no way. Why would we grab a guy that has no production? None." And I said, forget production. Numbers can paralyze you when all you look at is stats and you don't watch film. That is the difference between an NFL scout, an NFL analyst, a draft analyst, or a draft, a scout that primarily only does draft work, right? That's the difference between those guys or ladies and someone that only looks at stats. Stats are not the full answer. You have to have an eye test with everything. And so Nick Scorton, everyone said that he wasn't going to do squat.
He had 5 sacks, 20 solo tackles.
And he missed, fumble. I want to say he missed a good part of the season. But actually, I think maybe he did play in 17 games. But I thought he had some injury issues or something that was going into the season. If I'm not mistaken, I think he did.
Yeah. It says it played 17 games, 47 total tackles, 20 solo, 27 assisted, 5 sacks, a forced fumble, 1 pass defensed. What is STF?
Stuffs.
So he's got 6.5 stuffs and 10 stuff yards.
The only thing I don't see on, you must be looking at ESPN.
Yep.
Yeah,
ESPN.
the one thing that I don't see is the TFLs, which could be calculated as stuffs, I guess. That may be their TFL metric. I'm not real sure. But the fact that he had 5 sacks.
Yeah. As a linebacker.
And let's see how often he played.
Did they play a 3-4 in Carolina?
You know, I don't remember. I'm trying to think of Carolina's defensive front here. I have all this written in my chart. I have all of the team's defenses written down. I take all of that into consideration when I draft, when I do my draft.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they are 3-4.
Okay.
And he played I think he played typically off the right side. But he did earn a starting position. And when you look at his snap counts on the year, what I see PFF recorded was 8 sacks. And the reason why, and so this is a big difference. When you look at ESPN, what does it say? It says Buffalo, he had a half. New Orleans, he had a half. Tampa Bay, he had a half. And then the Jets, he had 1.5. So that's 5. And then he had a solo in New Orleans, solo in Seattle. So that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I don't know the big difference here between ESPN and PFF, but I think PFF rounds up. They don't do halves. So he has somewhere between 6 and 8 sacks.
Yeah.
We'll call it 7. 1 forced fumble. You already said that, right?
Yeah.
That's a damn good rookie season for an outside linebacker. And then his snap counts. If you look at his snap counts and you do efficiency rating, because you typically rush in the quarterback in your pass rush ability, right? When you get an opportunity to rush a passer, we'll go 7 sacks. We'll just kind of take the middle. That means 2% of the snaps he's getting a sack of pass rush snaps. He's getting a sack. He only played in 717 snaps, which I'd have to say that's probably 2/3, maybe a little bit more, maybe closer to 72%.
Yeah, rotating in and out.
Yeah, so he's on a high rotation, but he wasn't in there 100% of the time, and that could be because in his, the first couple of weeks he didn't play a lot. I want to say the first couple of weeks he was still battling through an injury. He might have only been in a handful of snaps week 1 and 2. And then he started averaging probably about 40 snaps a game, 50 snaps a game. That Carolina defense obviously came to life this year.
Yeah, especially at the end.
So
made the playoffs.
Again, I'm throwing this out there. I'm using Nick as a real world example here because last year I kept hearing it. I'm wrong. Nick is not good. He's got no production. Well, I'm telling you that production at the college level can do 2 things. It can either skew you way high on a player, or you might think a player's not good at all. If a player has a ton of production in the college level, that does not mean it'll all translate to the next level. And if they don't have much production at the college level, that doesn't mean that they won't translate and become a really good player at the next level. Scheme matters, right? Scheme matters the most. And if you're playing at a position where you're not asked were tasked with rushing the quarterback, like they did in Texas, where he was, Texas Tech, right? No, Texas A&M. Then it can be a little bit misleading. Because if you go back and look at Purdue, he was he led the big in sacks, or he was tied with 10 or 12, I believe it was, in his freshman year. All right, 16, who is it?
All right, it's the New York Jets. After securing arguably the best defensive player in the draft at number 2, the Jets now took to their offense with wide receiver Jordan Tyson from Arizona State. He's able to play every receiver spot on the field with a track record of production. Could he be a great fit alongside Garrett Wilson?
Jordan Tyson?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So, hold the phone. You would take... Did we already talk? Did we already take Mekhi Lemon? Did he already take Mekhi Lemon? I don't think he did.
Nope.
So you would take Tyson over Mekhi Lemon? I don't know how that makes sense. I really don't. I think that Mekhi Lemon is a far superior player. Different size, obviously. Interesting. All right, 17. Go ahead. Who is it in Detroit?
All right, the Detroit Lions. It would not surprise Tim Twentyman if the Detroit Lions look to free agency for an upgrade at the center position and use the draft to add a young tackle to be his successor. Whether left tackle Taylor Decker decides to retire or not, the Lions do need a succession plan. Detroit could look to select a young pass rusher to play opposite Aiden Hutchinson, with some promising edge players who fit their desired athletic profile at the position still on the board. Tim just gets the sense it's of importance for both GM Brad Holmes and head coach Dan Campbell to get the offensive line back to being a strength of its football team like it was in 23 and 24. So the pick...
Oh, he picked my guy.
Tackle Caden Proctor from Alabama. Proctor is a massive human being at 6'7", 366 pounds, who fits in Detroit's plans to have a powerful and explosive rushing offense. Proctor can also push inside and play guard and excel there with his size and athletic combo. And then he said he also considered tackle Caleb Lomu from Utah, edge Akeem Mesidor from Miami, edge Zion Young from Missouri, edge Cassius Howell from Texas A&M, and safety Emmanuel McNeil Warren from Toledo.
It's interesting, right? So I've done the workup on a Emmanuel McNeil Warren, which a lot of people are saying not a first round pick, mocked into the second round. I see him being a first round pick right now. That'll change. Maybe it won't. Akeem Mesidor, I was probably the only first person to put out an article about Akeem Mesidor in Detroit about a month ago. I saw him as a player that was going to rise to the first round and would not be surprised at all if he landed in Detroit at 17. But he's also a player that you might be able to trade back a little bit for. And as I've been saying, I think trading back makes a lot of sense in the first round. It has been my consideration this entire time. When I can't remember the piece that I put together the other day, is trading back off of 17 to kind of get to maybe 21, 22, snag up Emmanuel McNeil Warren, and then jump back in and snag Caden Proctor. If these draft boards are correct, but from a lot of the other people that, put this workout, that Caden Proctor's somehow in the bottom end of the first round, well, does Brad take the risk? If he looks at it from the perspective of, I have 3 players on my board, and if I trade back, I will get one of those 3 players, and I'm good with any 3. then you absolutely must trade back, as long as those players are Caden Proctor, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, and Akeem Messidor. Those are the only 3 players that I think that I would want to trade back into the first round and be happy with whatever one I got. But in this case, I'm glad that he also has similar mindset to me, that it's going to be tough to find a left tackle in free agency. I think that's what he's saying here. And you look for the center in free agency. You look, for the draft to get Taylor Decker's replacement. But as far as Aiden goes and drafting the next edge, that's what Roster Roulette's been telling us the whole time. This is the year that you go in and you find that true next number 2. Again, I'll say the word, irresponsible. It's irresponsible to depend on Ahmed Hassanin. It's irresponsible to depend on Taylor Decker. It's irresponsible to rely upon Graham Glasgow or Tate Rowledge at center. It is wholly responsible for Brad to stack. You need to stack and be prepared. So stacking and being prepared in this draft means you do not walk away from a can't miss prospect. And that is what Caden Proctor is today, as long as he tests out good and his agility comes out good. And at 366, that might be too much. He might have to get down to 350, or 345. Well, and he stays there, hopefully. Hopefully he loses some weight and gets down a little bit. I mean, you still want him to have the power, but we need him to have the movement skills that he's known to have. Some of the other players in here, again, I'm not in on Caleb Lomu. Doesn't mean that the Lions wouldn't do it. And then Zion Young, I mocked him a week or 2 ago in one of my mocks, but I took him in the second round. Cassius Howell would be good too, but again, we'll see where it goes. All right, what do you want to end with today? You want to do it? Let's do a quick draft, and then we'll get out of here.
Well, I'm trying to get one going here to see who I could pick at 17. How do we get this to go?
What do you mean? You just go to PFF NFL Mock Draft Simulator?
All right. Well, I got to get to the right one then. PFF Mock Simulator.
Yep. And then you're just you're gonna grab your Lions as your team, obviously.
All right. Enter the draft. Start the draft. Let's see. How do I see what was already done?
Hold on, buddy. Let me get this rolling here. All right, so how do you see what was already done? So did you do 3 rounds? How many rounds did you do?
I don't even know. I'm
just hit reset. Just refresh.
Okay.
I'll do 4 rounds. That way we can get to our 4th round pick. I won't make any trades or anything. We'll leave the speed as is. I want you take and you slide. Care for positional value. This is what I do. I go up. I take needs. I leave it equal. Randomness. I turn it all the way down. I don't want a bunch of random crap. I'm going to enter the draft. When you hit start draft, and then you look to the left to see who was taken in front of you. See on my screen, see where it says all the players that were taken in front of you?
Mine looks different than yours.
It shouldn't. You're on PFF's mock draft board, right?
Yeah.
It shouldn't look different.
Mine does look different. You hit something already.
Yeah, I hit start draft just now.
It says enter draft.
Yeah, so you got to select your team, the Lions,
Okay.
and then enter draft.
All right, and then start draft.
And then when you start draft, it's going to select the first 16 picks because you're not making a trade, right? Now, the player we didn't talk about yet, the other player that I would be interested in taking is Caleb Banks. Now, Caleb Banks is that boomer bust guy. I see that he was taken by the Jets here at 16. He's a boomer bust option for any team right now in the first round because when he's good, when he's pissed off and he's angry, he's great. But there are some issues at the bowl games that, he He made a ton of mistakes. And I think that he's boom or bust right now. All right, so let's kind of see what happened. Mendoza, Bain, Bailey, Reese, Tate. You know what? Let's compare it to what Tim 20 Men did. So 20 Men said Mendoza at 1. He said Arvel Reese at 2 instead of Bain. Arizona, he had Spencer Fano. They took David Bailey. Reese, or Tennessee was Carnell Tate, not Arvel Reese. The New York took Tate. He had Mansour Delane, so not even close. I do think that there will be a run on edge similar to this, but I don't know if it'll be that early. Mekhi Lemon, he's off the board. Ahead of Tyson, right? Yep. He's off the board ahead of Tyson, which I expected. What did yours say? Was yours similar to mine?
Kind of. Mine's got Mendoza, Bain, Love, Bailey, Downs, Lemon, Reese, Delane, Woods, Styles, McCoy, Magoa, Tate, Tyson, Howell, and Boston.
All right, so who's on your board?
Well, the top it says Kendrick Falk, Caleb Banks, Spencer Fano, Davian Terrell, Caden McDonald, Olavi Alone, TJ Parker, Kenyon Sadiq, and Caden Proctor.
That's Oli Vavega Lone.
Okay.
Oli Vavega. Just call him Vega.
Okay, that's easy.
We just call him Vega.
Vega Lone.
Vega Lone. Okay, so what are you doing?
I don't know.
Who are you picking? We know Spencer Fano's a right tackle, right? So when you click on him, you go down and look at his alignment. And if you look at his alignment, it says right here is a right tackle all 3 years. He played a little bit of left tackle in 2023, and then he transitioned to right tackle the last 2 years. So could he transition back? Possibly. Possibly could. Edge, Keldrick Falk, take a look at him here. Had a better year in 24 than he did in 25. He's not a B gap rusher. Hold on, let me get back to this. This just looks funny on my screen today. He's definitely over the tackle or outside the tackle in wide 9. And I don't know what defense they ran at Auburn. 6'6", 285. Definitely has the size. Definitely has the size. I don't know his speed. Who are you picking?
I don't know. Depends on if we take a center in free agency or not.
Well, you just got to pick like we did.
Okay, so I'll assume we did.
I mean, I wouldn't take a. So as much as I want Jake Slaughter in the first round, and I've heard a lot of other creators are starting to put Jake Slaughter up in the mix, which is interesting. I think it's really interesting that I'm hearing now more people are putting Jake Slaughter up in the mix. I would love to see him go in the first round to the Lions, but at 17, it's going to be rich right now, especially with the way that this draft is filling out. The problem is you can't miss on a guy like Slaughter. If you're going to pick your center in the draft, you're going to have to take him in the second round no matter what, and that's either at 50 or before. I think he's going to be gone before 50, honestly. Go ahead. You were saying something.
So you were saying that Spencer Fano did play some left tackle?
Very few. So if you click on his name,
yeah,
okay, and then you get the box that pops up.
Yep.
Go look at the bottom where it says snaps by alignment.
Yep.
Okay, that's where you can see what he's done.
All right, I'm gonna piss you off. I'm gonna take him.
You would take him before you would take Caden Proctor?
I don't know. He's rated higher on here, and I got to go with the board.
Oh yeah, but these boards don't mean crap.
Yeah,
They are meaningless.
Okay,
What this board is this is PFF's board. This is
And
how
I'm
this is how they see the board.
well, then I'm taking Ty Simpson as a backup quarterback for Jared Goff.
Oh my God, you're fired. You're fired, dude. You're not taking no Ty Simpson. I wanted to look at Caden Proctor's speed for a moment, or he runs a 5.10 40, which is really good for his size. It's insane.
Well, this Kenyon Sadiq, he's the number 1 tight end on the board. I could take him.
Yeah, I think Brad would get absolutely murdered if the Lions did that.
Fix my tight end position.
I don't know, on a tight end, would you rather have a polished guy that you can trust, or would you rather go, rookie and hope for the best?
It just depends. Hey, Sam Laporta was pretty good as a rookie. But what about cornerback? Because we might not have anyone except for DJ Reed and we might need a corner.
We might, but do you take another first-round corner? There's plenty of second and third-round corners that can be pretty good.
And then the defensive line, we need somebody to replace DJ Reader. Hey, let's get running mates. Caden McDonald right there. He must have played with Williams, right?
Yeah, he did.
Well, let's take him.
Those two are kind of the two peas in the same pod, though.
Are they?
Yeah, they're both that heavier nose tackle style of a defensive tackle.
Okay.
If you're looking for more of a pass rush style of a defensive tackle, which I believe that the Lions would be looking at, McDonald wouldn't be the guy that I would take.
Would that be Caleb Banks then?
Banks would probably be it if you're looking for more of that pass rush style. I mean, even Lee Hunter, as much as I think that he's pretty impressive and he's a B gap specialist, at 6'4", 330, definitely has the size, the weight. I prefer my DTs to be closer to that 6'3", 6'3 and a half, 6'4 range. At 310, 290 to 310, depending. If you're a pass rush style, I want you to be a little bit lighter. If you're up in the 315s, 320s, you kind of get lost, right? Caleb Banks, take a look at him. He's 330. He's massive, but he's 6'6".
Ooh,
so the question is he going to fire up with his pads low? Well, I can tell you this. He was not, except when he was pissed off. When he was angry and he was doing, when he was really trying to, impress everybody, he was firing out pad low, making good contact. Just a very nasty shock punch is what I call it. He would shock the tackles or the guards with that first punch. And then you hit him with a move and you get between them, you get around them, you get above them, you get beyond them. And that's what I loved about his work. But he's already been selected to the Jets, and I'm not sold that he's consistent. Right? Christian Miller out of Georgia. Again, he's not a sack guy. He's not your pass rush specialist. If that's what you're looking to add next to Williams and McNeil,
I want a DJ Reader replacement.
We have that in Tyleik Williams. Tyleik Williams is a nose tackle that can also pass rush. That is also everything else. He can play multiple.
We still got a Lee McNeil, so we're good there.
He can play multiple positions. You do what you want. I'll tell you what I'm doing.
Well, it's to me, it would probably be Caden Proctor or Spencer Fano with what I have available, because I want to fix that O-line. But Spencer Fano, he only played a little bit left tackle, so I'll go Caden Proctor for now with what I have here, because I want to fix our O-line before anything else. It gave me a B for my draft there.
Oh, you only did one round?
Yeah, it only did 1 round.
Okay. All right. Well, if I'm not going to do any trades at all, which I think is going to be highly unlikely, and the Lions are not addressing left tackle in the draft, I'm also going to take Caden Proctor. I mean, he's been my number one guy. He's going to remain my number one guy. And then when I look at the rest of the needs for the Lions, it is outside linebacker, it is safety, it is center. But I'm just going to assume that Seth McLaughlin is going to work out, and the Lions went out in free agency and grabbed another center as a backup or a center guard. That's a good question. Do we have any interior offensive lineman that can also play center? A couple years ago, man, we had a run of guys that could do it all. I don't know if Sam Hecht is the guy. Yeah, if you look at interior offensive linemen here, I mean, this draft is so light for high-level guys. And Pat Coogan does make a lot of sense,
I would love him in the second round.
And well, not in the second, dude. You can get him in like the fourth.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, you need to run like 10 of these a day so you can get used to where you're seeing players go.
Oh, okay. Pat Coogan, dude, seeing him in the semifinal game and then in the championship game, that kid's got wheels. He can pull. He's great blocking. Dude, I fell in love with him just watching him for 2 games. Now, I know that's a small sample size, but I love his physique and the way he moves. I think it's perfect for the Detroit Lions.
We need that outside backer. And this guy, you got to run.
Yeah, it's after 11, so I got to get going for today.
All right, man. We'll see you.
All
right. So my second pick, I'm surveying the board in free agency. We didn't get the next left tackle, so we select Caden Proctor. As far as linebacker goes, maybe we bring a guy in. I'm not sure who that player is going to be right now, but when I look at Golday, I look at a guy that can play in the slot, right? And that's where he is. He's in the slot quite a bit, or he's in the box, which means he can stuff the run and he can marry up the pass with his coverage ability. He's got a very low missed tackle rate. That is a prerequisite to be in Detroit. His coverage grade is decent. His run defense grade is impressive. We know the Lions don't want anyone to run on them, period, and take that offense and turn it into one-dimensional offense. So I'm going to have to go with Golday here and take care of the linebacker. Now, we don't get another pick until 118. So what did we do in free agency? Hopefully we did enough, because we're going to miss on Jack Slaughter. We're going to miss on Connor Lew. And the guy that I mentioned last week that I think could be a really good safety moving forward, and I know some other people have tried taking this guy too, but I actually did some work up on him, is Taffy. Laffy Taffy. The only problem that I have with him is no forced incompletions. Passer rating's low, but he only had 18 targets against. Coverage stops are good at 11. Run stops are good at 10. His run defense grade is solid. His coverage grade is elite. He will play in the slot. He will play in the box. And he does play out deep, so he can do a little bit of all three. Size-wise, he's 6 foot, 189. He's a little bit light. I'd rather see that number closer to 205. But that doesn't mean that he can't play. So he would be on my list. If we're looking at a next tight end, I don't know about Royer. His film's been okay. I've only watched two games so far, but his grades are terrible. He's 6'5", 250, so he's got great size. I'm just not as impressed with his film just yet. Borkature was the guy that we watched in the Shrine Bowl. He made a couple of plays. Anthony Hill Jr. Who the hell's Anthony Hill Jr.? But Borkature has definitely got the size and the ability. At 6'4", 250. Let me take a look at him real quick on my board. Where is he at? He's definitely down there. Oh, it's interesting. I gotta run too, so I gotta get this done. I just gotta look up this Borkircher's information real quick. I didn't see any clock times from the bowl game. I don't know if he runs well or not. So he wanted Anthony Hill Jr. I think he must be already selected. Yeah, he's not available. Slaughter went at 81. Yeah, I don't see him in there. Where's that running back? I'm just going to assume we lose David. This Nicholas Singleton right here is the guy you can't walk away from. Mike Washington Jr. is another guy you can't walk away from. Singleton, 6 foot 224, is the next David Montgomery. That's my draft. That's 3 rounds. All 4 rounds. All right, what do we get? Not that I care. Caden Proctor is a B. Jake Golday is a C+. Nicholas Singleton's a B. So you took care of the line, you took care of the linebacker, and then you took care of the running back situation of the future. Not to say that that's what I'm going to do in my first mock Monday, but let's save it. And then let me go look up Anthony Hill real quick for you. Linebacker out of Texas. Looks like he plays in the slot. He definitely plays in the box quite a bit. Missed tackle rate, extremely low. Coverage grade, not great. Pass rush grade, not great. Run defense grade is okay. But I think the difference between him and some of the others, you have to look at the level of competition. Florida, Oklahoma, Kentucky, Georgia, Ohio State. Much different level of competition that he's playing through versus some of the other guys. Completion grade is not fantastic, but it's not terrible. Run stops is solid with 19. I don't know why he would be so high up on the board. If you just base everything on stats, you probably wouldn't have him that high on the board. That's where the film is going to make all the difference in the world. Yeah, I'd still probably ride with Gold-Day over Anthony Hill. Honestly. But, let me look at his size real quick. 6'3", 238 versus Gold-Day, which is 6'4", 240. And it's tough to find guys that size. Kyle Lewis is another one that's way undersized, but he could make for an interesting pick late third, early four. Harold Perkins. Wow. I'm surprised that Harold Perkins is ranked that low. I got to do some work up on Harold Perkins. Last year, he was someone that I was extremely interested in. Why has he slipped so much? Keep your eyes on Perkins. All right, I got to get out of here. Again, I'll let you guys know if I'll be on the rest of the week. I'm not real sure yet. So you guys have a good rest of your day. And don't forget, first mock is going to be Monday night. We'll do the first mock my Monday, mock my draft. I'm working on the graphics still so that I have actual graphics to go with it. And hopefully I can get everything put in before Monday because it's a lot of work. But probably start at 5 or 6. I'm not real sure. All right, pay attention to the posts in the comments. Please do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe on your way out. Share it with a friend. We'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.
Pressured by Hutchinson.